Yep.
Yeah, now it says we are live. Yeah, hello. Welcome to the stream, Friday Hangout. My name is Marteinn, and I'm gonna host this show. And today we are going to talk about slicers and what slicer we are using, and in what occasions people are using slicers, and with different printers or different models. So just get started with the introductions. From my side, Glenn and Xander, you're first.
Oh, I'm not used to getting to go first. This is weird, huh? So, hello, everybody. I'm Glenn.
And I'm Xander.
And together we are Fun King 3D, and we are a father and son team that does 3D printing, some electronic projects, really just kind of anything having to do with making.
And blowing up.
We haven't blown anything up yet, but it's probably going to come soon. He really wants to blow something up, so we're probably going to work on that. So, but yeah, projects that we're currently working on. Of course, the interesting every Thursday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, and I've got like 40 projects in the works, and they all just seem to be taking too long. So, but I'll watch our channel; it'll be coming.
Okay, great. Joe, Mike, you're next.
Hi. Okay. I'm Joe Mike, and I've got a channel, Joe Mike Terranella, on the YouTube. Just hit 6,000 subs this last week. Excited about that. Going to get a giveaway contest thing going on this weekend. I like to party. Long walks on the beach, yada, yada, yada. I don't. What is that? Is that all the information? I wasn't paying attention. I was adjusting my camera.
Yeah, it's right. Okay, then Mitch, you're next.
Oh, hey, I'm Mitch 3D, my YouTube channel, and I'm at the Mitch22 and Twitter, and I'm kind of active now. Now I'm really active in the CME user group, Facebook group, because I've been building a Rostock Max and working on an Eris. So, yep.
Okay. And Richard, you're next.
Hi, I'm Richard. My channel is the Zidim channel, and I'm Zidim17 over on Twitter and within the world of Facebook, although on Facebook I'm more likely to be found on 3D printing for model trains, and that's the focus of my channel. And I'm also getting into playing with my Moya printer, which is working away with one print right now that I'll be able to pull off in a few minutes, I hope.
Okay. And Regor, you're up.
Hi. So yeah, Marteinn called me Regor Onafetsid. That's my name backwards. You can find me on Facebook, and that's my gamer tag on Xbox. So everybody in town calls me Regor. So had this YouTube channel for a couple of years now. It'll be my 2-year mark, December 15th. So I got another month till that anniversary hits. Pretty stoked about that. Almost at 2,000 subs. So pleased with that progress. You can find me on Twitter. I'm u_do_it, but you'll see my my channel tag, my icon is the same across all media. The Instagram, you can find me on u.do.it. And then you'll find me on VidMe. You do it on VidMe. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. And we have a new member, Miles. If you want to do your introductions, just say what your name is and if you have a channel on Twitter.
Okay. I guess I'm Miles. Thanks for having me on, I guess. I don't really have a channel at the moment. I'm not really pimping that out right now. You can just follow me on Twitter or find me in the Facebook groups. Just here to say hi and chat about cool stuff.
Yeah, okay, great. I have everyone's links in the video description, so people can check those out, both the Twitters and YouTube channels. Yeah, so for this stream, we are gonna talk about slicers. I had this question in my head, why people are using different slicers, and are some slicers better for some types of prints or for some type of printers, and I've also noticed a lot of YouTubers are referring to Simplify 3D when they're talking about their slicers, and I myself have been using the Prusa edition slicer, and that's the only slicer I've tested, but I wanted to have this discussion with you guys about why you're using different slicer, and is it worth the money to buy Simplify 3D for some specific reasons that I'm not aware of, or are there other options? I've seen I've been looking around the internet and found there are plenty of different slicers. Some printers come with their own branded Cura versions, and that seems to be very popular. But I want to talk to you guys about your experience with slicers, and especially if you have some specific machines that require special slicers or special types of prints that would require any features that were found in one slicer but not the other one. So you can talk about what slicer you're using and why you're using those slicers, and that was the main theme for tonight.
I'm gonna start off with like an annoying thing that I'm dealing with right now. Expected print time is a lie. It's just a dirty lie. It's like I try to not print at night unless I have to, because my printers are quite close to where my dad sleeps. And like I have this print that told me it's gonna take 16 hours. It told me it's gonna take 12 hours. It's like on 16 and a half hours, it's like 3 hours left. It's like I can't plan my print time at all with almost any slicer. But I get specifically more annoyed when it's with Simplify 3D, because like I paid money for you, and you still don't want.
It's a pretty common thing with all the slicers. The problem comes in when the machine firmware settings. So you got to kind of figure that the slicer is kind of dumb when it comes to the settings that are in the firmware for the machine, and you've got jerk and acceleration settings in there, as well as maybe some speed throttles. So the slicer looks at the model and goes, okay, we're printing this at 65 millimeters a second. And then once it gets to the printer's firmware like just is like, well, no, we're not, because my top speed on here is 45 millimeters per second, and my acceleration is really low, and these are my jerk settings. And so by the time that A and B are mixed together, that 12-hour print time that any of the slicers promised you gets extended out because of the difference between the slicer thinks your printer can do and what the printer thinks the printer can do. I mean, that's, at least in my experience, that's why I have such a large
discrepancy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just think it's annoying, because I'm like, if I start this at 10 o'clock, it should be done by, 7 o'clock at night, and it's like 2 in the morning, it's still going. It's like annoying.
Yeah, I find that Octoprint and whatever my slicer is give completely different readings of the time. So I don't even know which one's right. I usually just tell people it's generally the middle of the time, but once you get your printer tuned in, so it doesn't matter how long you print, or if you get it enclosed so it doesn't disturb anybody with the noise, it gets really easy. But
the thing that Octoprint runs a little differently than the slicers thing. What Octoprint does is it takes a look at the file size, and it's parsing the file size, and so as it's sending commands to the printer, it can then move the percentage bar up with the commands that have been sent and executed. And so if commands aren't being executed as quickly, like let's say you've got a layer slowdown for your first layer. I think I've got a slur when I keep both of these in. So if you've got like speed reductions and slowdowns, Octoprint doesn't really understand that. So when you're putting down like your first couple of layers and it jumps to like 3 days print time, and then all of a sudden it jumps back to like 6 hours, and that's why it's basically going off the amount of the file that's been printed versus how much is remaining. And I'm talking too much. I'm muting my mic.
Yeah,
No, that's really informative, though.
Yeah, I've seen this with Octoprint. It basically is a number of kilobytes sent to the printer. That is used for calculation.
That's exactly right.
It's different than like other CNC machines that I've dealt with, because a lot of the CNC machines I deal with have a lot more accurate, the post processors and the G code. It's more, I would imagine it can compensate for the machine profile. So if the slicers are smart enough to have the parameters of that the machine has, the printer has, it could more accurately calculate it then. I just never seen slicers actually have like the actual firmware parameters built into the slicer. That might actually help. I'm not sure.
I think even a quick read of like, so Marlin, when you boot up Marlin, when you connect your printer via like Octoprint to Marlin for the first time, you see the terminal will list basically a 501, an M501, and bring out EEPROM, which has acceleration and jerk values in it. I think the disconnect is, at least with Octoprint, they should figure out a way to incorporate those values and put them into the equation for time. Your slicer, I think it'd be cool if you had the ability to get into your slicer advanced settings and put in your firmware settings. I think that'd just probably be the easiest way. And then it could accurately say, yeah, well, at this point, he's not going to be able to, speed up to his max print speed, so it's going to be slower, and this is a more realistic goal. So,
well, and like Nick said in the chat that, he specifically pointed at Simplify that it should, by USB, connect directly into your printer and pull those for you. So, and I don't think that would be all that difficult for a piece of software to do. I mean, I don't connect mine via USB, but it should still do it.
Yeah, I don't connect mine via USB either. Yeah, I think that's just code that's missing. I don't think they've built that in. I don't think it'd be too hard, but there's so many different flavors of firmwares out there that one value could maybe equal something else and something else. But G code's fairly straightforward, so building something in that's G code based and can read a 501 command at the beginning and then import those values would be very beneficial in calculating time in a slicer. But again, you would have to be connected via USB for that to happen, and printing a USB.
I'd say, right, if we could say anything about Simplify 3D, it's pretty like ubiquitous in the top end of the maker community. Like anyone with like a big channel or like doing it professionally, I see them using Simplify 3D, with the only exception being Pressure Control, because it's just so well tuned for the Mark II and Mark III to come. I really wish that Simplify 3D would let you pay $10 a month for X amount of time. I think they would really increase their customer base if they did that, even if it was more expensive. If it was like $200 instead of like $150, but you could pay $10 a month for 20 months, that would be like super cool. And I think they would like more people would adopt it, because I think it is the best slicer, but $150 is like a lot to put up.
Yeah. So you're thinking more of like a subscription-based model for that?
Yeah, not like a subscription forever, and it'd have to cost more than just buying it up front, because for cash flow reasons and stuff to the business. But just $150 for a software in 2017 is like nuts. to like a millennial 99-cent app person like me. It's like I don't pay for software.
Well, that and everything else has gone subscription based anyways. I mean, we look at Microsoft Office for X amount of dollars a month, cancel anytime. Look at Adobe, any of the Adobe Creative Clouds applications, that's a monthly fee. And yeah, I mean, like Adobe Acrobat, the full version of that versus the subscription version, you pay more with the subscription version in the long run. I think that it's a 2-year lead time on that one. But at the same time, if I want to cancel after 4 or 5 months, I can. Or I could only use it for a month and then cancel, and then when I need it again, kick up the subscription again. And I think you're right that if people had that option with S3D would see a lot more people at least trying their service and maybe sticking with the subscription versus seeing that $150 price tag and going, oh, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but a subscription slicer, though, would have to provide features that are continually improving. And I would only pay for a subscription slicer if it was a cloud-based one, because then I can offload the slicing onto Octoprint, which I think Astroprint has done, is cloud slicing, but like a more improved one with a better algorithm that was cloud-based. I would probably pay a little bit a month for that.
When I say subscription, I don't mean like a continual one. I mean like, so it's $150 to just buy it straight out, and you can just pay that up front and get it for $150, or it would be like $200, and you pay the subscription up to $200, and then you don't pay anymore.
So a payment plan.
Yeah.
With maybe a little interest tacked on there.
Yeah. I think you'd have more people signing up.
With Simplify 3D, over the past 10 months or so, within the 3D printing community, a number of people have been reporting issues with its slicing to the point where it was unusable for them. And it was something that changed within Simplify because they take old copies of the same item, something they sliced, months before, and compared that to what they've done recently, and you get 2 different slices out of it, and the new one is really a non-functional slice. Now, I don't know if that has been resolved. When the newest edition came out, heard from a couple of people that the issues were still there. Is that still going on? I haven't been exploring that issue lately.
I mean, I'm on the latest version, and I don't have any issues with it.
Yeah, I know. Dustin in the Yatman, he had some issues with the version. I think it's version 4 now, but he had the same issues with the previous version and the new version 4. So at least in his case, the new version didn't solve that random G-code problem he was having.
Right. One of the key things people turn to Simplify for is its supports.
Manual support placement.
And the way it works. And I'm going to change cameras here, but I've been introduced because I went to this Moya printer that I'm very proud of over at the side and been playing with what just came off the print bed. For it, it's a multiple stage of slicing, and the first tool would be valuable to anybody, and it's a free tool out there, and it comes from B9 Creations. And the only thing I use it for is for the supports, because it handles supports beautifully. So in a few minutes, I'll show you what it does here. And with that, got the complete package. That takes away the last thing I really looked for from Simplify. So it no longer is in my tool chest, as it were, for slicers.
Yeah, okay. You said that was a free option.
Yeah, B9 Creations here. If you just bear with me for a moment, I did bring it up earlier. Sharing screens here. While I'm doing this, don't forget, folks, that we are looking for a new logo for the Friday night hangout. So we'll be promoting that throughout the evening. And so if you think up something would be a great logo for these chats, let us know, please.
I posted the link. To be
this
nice.
Horse looks impaled.
Yeah, this is an HO scale horse that I'm going to print tonight. It'll be done soon. It's ready to go. But you can work through with your supports in here, and you can customize the supports. If I want this one, for example, this is the print bed from the Moye, and a base. There's a couple of types of bases here. This one's cinder. You can see these. It's a straight edge across the bottom, and they're hard to get off the build plate. So you can change that. And see, this one has a base. It's a cinder. It's a square base. So in order to get that one off of the build plate easier, you change it from a cylinder, and you can change it into a cone like that. And now you still have contact with the print base, but you have that little edge to get the scraper off, and it peels off beautifully.
That's
a pretty limited support, though, like for a resin printer. I guess because you're tilting.
This is a very, very small horse. So
okay. So
this is very, very small. The one I printed before.
So when it peels each layer, you don't have to worry about it coming off the supports.
No, you don't. The one I just pulled off the printer, this is a 1/4 inch to the foot, O scale. HO is going to be smaller than this print here, the black one.
Wow.
So the hardest part with these, this was an FDM print, and I got some spaghetti in there. The feet are so tiny on there. But with the SLA printer, it's not a problem. So I'm going to fire up. I already sliced the model that I just showed, and now that this one's done, I'm going to load it up, and I'll show you the finished product, hopefully before the end of the show. And yeah, I'll get a link for these folks, and I'll post it as well.
Yeah, it's good to mention also is Craftware. Craftware has customizable supports and a really intuitive like interface for tuning your printer. It kind of shows what each of the settings do. It's kind of under. It's not as well known, but it's a free program that's pretty similar to Simplify 3D. I just never used it because I kind of went with the S3D craze, and I haven't used anything since. But I think Craftware is worth mentioning when we're talking about it.
It's kind of in that same boat. If anyone's used Idea Maker.
Who's that? Who makes that?
I don't know who makes Idea Maker.
Yeah, it's made by Race 3D.
That's right.
Okay.
But you can create your own print profiles, so you don't have to use their own printers. I remember a video from Angus about Idea Maker.
Yeah, it looks like it has a faster slicer, or a fast slicer because it's native code. Looks pretty good, actually.
Here's an interesting angle on this, and any of you who play League of Legends will understand this a lot. If you don't, I'm not sure how well this is going to translate, but like, trying to move slicer, trying to move from one slicer to the other is like trying to play a champion that you've never played before. So you're like really good at one champion, and then you just immediately suck ass at the other one. So you figure out and you dial in like one slicer really well. Then you try and move something else, and you end up like printing like arse for a couple of weeks, and then you finally get it back together and you get it working again. And like, but you don't want to go through the pain of getting all that done when you just want to print. So you just go back to the old slicer. You know what I mean?
I can kind of relate to that because I got my ANET. I ordered my Prusa, and it was going to take so long to get here. I ordered the ANET, so I started in Cura. So when the Prusa got here, I kind of started to set the Prusa up in Cura, and I thought, nah, I'm going to use the Slicer Prusa edition, and I got the Prusa printer all set up nice. And I still use Cura for the ANET and the Slicer Prusa edition for the Prusa. I have not put them both in one slicer yet.
Yeah,
so
because it's like
I feel that pain,
especially for the ANET. Is it's like when it fails really bad, and you have to fight. You have to fight that printer to print really well. I know there's a lot of diehard ANET people who are like, it's the best printer for the money, and like, yeah, sure, like you can get it to be really good, but like I've been working on an article for 3D Print Chat where it's like how to take your ANET from to good, like a detailed step process for people, and it's like it's bugging the hell out of me. It's annoying.
My A8 prints or printed. It's down now, but it printed as well as my Prusa.
You can get it there. You can definitely get it there.
I truly stand behind that. I mean, I have benches that you can't tell which one was printed on which printer.
Is the ANET the one behind you? The yellow one?
Yeah, it's being converted over to an extruded aluminum frame known as the AM8 conversion, available on Thingiverse. So I was tired of the acrylic frame. Yeah. Well, it pretty much is a whole new printer now.
So it's no longer an ANET anymore. You didn't print as good as the Prusa out the box. No way.
Yeah. I ran that thing. In fact, if you check my channel, there's a video called Progress Report 125 Hours on the ANET, and you will see the quality I was getting out of that. 100% stock, other than I put some frame stiffeners on it.
It was a frame stiffeners. That's got to be it.
Yeah.
Well, it definitely
the trolls
helped.
Are right.
So,
the trolls are right. I'm afraid.
We are kind of venturing off topic here, guys.
Yeah.
Never do that before, ever.
No, not us. Not us. I found
slicers can't fix your hardware.
Yes. So at least we have we have quite a lot of options for custom supports other than Simplify 3D. So that's good to know. That
that used to always be the focus, because we've talked about slicers before. And that always came down to what you can do with the supports. Now, at the other end with the Prusa, I absolutely love Prusa Control. If you got something straight and easy, you can fire it through there, and it's off, and it's like a no-brainer. And for some things, it's a fantastic tool.
Yeah, I haven't used that. I only used the slicer itself.
So slicing for me was I used the Prusa for slicing, and I printed the Dr. Doom mask. I had a hell of a time getting supports off, and everybody was saying that the supports are easier to break off from Simplify 3D. Can anybody attest to that, or no? Is it still the same difficulty?
3D supports are very good to take off. You can sometimes just do it with your finger, just like run your finger across it, and it just all comes out.
Okay. Unless you do a what's it called?
Nylon.
What?
Nylon.
Well, nylon's its own thing anyway. Yeah. So you can get into S3D and like customize the support angles at what they print.
Oh yeah.
And I did I did a full size skull, and I did 45, -45, 0, and -90, and I cut myself removing those supports. They were so strong. So I would use defaults until you got accustomed to what those settings do. Unless you're printing something that's going to be really, really heavy on top of those supports.
Well, that's the other advantage of this B9 Creator. And, I wish I'd known about it months ago, because you can customize its point of contact, what shape it is, what size it is, customize the post as I was doing before. You can customize the bases. So there's so many options that you have for putting these supports in. So as I said, I'm a big fan of this package now.
Yeah, one thing I noticed also in what's it called? Mixer. You can create some like tree-shaped supports in Mixer. Have you tried that out?
No, I haven't tried slicing a mesh mixer. Every time I try and use it, it just feels like such an old program. Like I want to be like Angus and be like the mesh mixer god, but every time I try and use it, I was like, this program is from 1997 and it hurts me. It's like the whole interface and the way it moves around. I feel like it's fighting against me.
But once you learn it, it's really good. I'm learning more about it every time I open the program. I learn new stuff about it. It's
Getting
really
that
crazy.
Fusion 362, man, and it's like I know it's good, and I know I should learn it, but it like I feel like I'm fighting with it. Like it's like I don't know what's wrong with me on that one.
I've seen the supports within it, and I've had once again, I'm sure I've gone to the SLA side. I've had people say, no, don't even think of using the supports for Mesh Mixer. I just did as I was told and went in another direction. Still use Mesh Mixer. I hate saying that word, but not for the supports.
Yeah, it's kind of tough though, because like nobody really uses tree supports for FDM printing. I mean, you can do it if you have a really tuned printer. It's it's not really as useful, I don't think, for that. And I'm not really sure why we don't use tree supports really only for PL or SLA printing. I mean, I guess it's just the printing process.
Especially you'd have to make sure you keep all the branches at like a certain angle, that you couldn't have like 70-degree branches, and you might have to, and then you have your having support, and then that would just take the time.
Here is the sample file they send with the Moyenne. There's your branching type of supports inside the ring. And I haven't experimented trying to generate those. So I don't know what program they use for that.
I also like Kira will show you where the overhangs are, so you can at least see how printable your parts are. It's not like perfect, but like, I mean, like a smart slicer would kind of be able to tell you how printable a part is based on, how it's designed. Because I really try to strive for like no support material, and like a smart slicer that can kind of help you learn that, and also like learning how to, if a slicer can compensate for a bridge or compensate for an overhang, which a lot of the slicers are now doing, that helps as well.
Yeah, but like I've seen, do you have any special reasons for using each type of slicer for each type of printer? Like you mentioned, Glenn, you just started using Cura for the ANET, and then the Prusa slicer for the Prusa, just because it came with it. But do you have any specific options in different slicers that are optimized for some printers?
Yeah. Mine was based totally on being lazy. So.
Yeah, that's sometimes a good enough reason.
Yeah, I exhibit some laziness sometimes when I was trying to learn something. Starting my YouTube channel was one of those points. Like, had I realized how easy it was to do Adobe Premiere, I would have started this years ago. But it's things like that. So I try to, anytime there's a wall in front of me, like I don't know how to do it, after combating that and tackling some other things, like now I'm working on an iPad app. So I don't know much about Apple. Hell, I can't even use the interface. But I'm pushing through it.
Well, there's one slicer that I thought I had loaded on this machine. I can't find it, and my brain's not functioning for the name of it. But it is the high end of slicers in that you have control over everything. It's something like Smart Slice. If one of you know the name, please jump in.
Is it Kiss Slicer?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. And
Kiss Slicer is actually really good. The actual slicing engine. I have the company that I worked for, and the 3D Fab printers that we use is called Polyprinter, and they actually customize a version of Kiss Slicer with their own post processor. So I'm really familiar with it. I actually just downloaded the latest version of Kiss Slicer, which has a very highly modified interface from the last version. So it's all new to me, but it's like it dives in. There's like a million parameters and features that you can dive into, and it's a really advanced slicer, like even more than Simplify 3D. Like it looks like you can basically dive into every little thing about like multi-extrusion and different types of printers and different types of filament settings and stuff. It's worth looking at, KissSlicer. It's just that the interface is not the interface. Like going back to what Miles says, it looks like it's from 1997, but it's a really cool slicer. It's a reliable slicer. Once you get it dialed in. Yeah.
Yeah, I had fun poking through it, but I do not understand slicing enough to actually push it to what I think that one's capable of.
Yeah, you definitely have to require a lot of. You have to read the manual. It's an interesting slicer for sure if you're a power user.
Yeah, and it was one. I guess it was actually off on the shelf for a number of years. It's one fellow who put it together, and he started back at it recently. So
I think it's like $40 now.
Oh, there's a charge for it now. Okay, never.
Yeah, the paid version is for multi-extruder machines. You can get the free version with every functionality, but if you need a multi-color printer or like the Prusa multicolor, then you need the paid version.
Yeah, if you go with the multi-material on there, that's the only difference.
Yeah, I saw that Dustin Dietman, he did a video on the KissSlicer. And for me, as a new guy in 3D printing, I was completely overwhelmed of all the settings that he was playing around with, just creating a profile for his basic prints. It had endless options, the software, to set things.
Yeah, I find that's kind of like where that's where the time trap is slicer settings. Like that's when you can honestly. I spend a whole week dialing in Simplify 3D just for my Eris, like pretty much every day, just printing, changing retraction, changing temperature, everything. Like people underestimate how much time it takes to like tune in a slicer, and that good profiles are like, especially with like really low supported printers, like the ones that nobody's heard of. It's really hard to find good profiles for slicers. So, that's something to look for when you're looking at slicers, is what profiles have been already created.
Yeah, so people tend to find the most popular print, the most popular software in used already for a specific printer, but that specific software might not be any hard evidence on feature set why that was the most used. It was just most used by some chance in the beginning. Do I understand that correctly, you were saying?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so I don't know what the ANET community, I guess Kira, which we kind of talked about, and like CNC, they recommend Matter Control, which I don't think it's its own slicer, but it, Matter Control is a completely different interface and the way the interface of the printer. So I had to learn Matter Control, and just because of the CNC. And then since I moved to other slicers, but a lot of printers, especially like Kira and Ultimaker, if you have an Ultimaker, you're probably going to be using Kira, even though you can use other ones. So I think there's a lot of 3D printer communities that have stuck to one slicer or another, even though they work for all of them.
Yeah, was it mattercontrol.com?
Yeah, Matter Control, which I'm not sure what slicer. I think they're using their own slicer. Yeah,
I think Matter Control can slice itself.
It doesn't use another engine though.
Yeah, I'm not sure, pasting the link.
I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that it has like a full slicer inside it as well as the control.
Yeah, it does. I was wondering what was in the background, but if it's its own slicer, that's kind of cool because I know they've been working on it a lot. It's actually an interesting interface. Like I could see it being geared towards beginners more than other ones like Kira. Kira is kind of more for beginners as well. They hide a lot of features. So
one we haven't mentioned yet really is Slicker, which I guess is about what people are settling on to call it, and which is pretty much the standard for the Prusa printer. And Prusa Research has been doing a lot of work into that one. And you start out with the Prusa Control, which they've done all the work behind the scenes. It's very easy to use. It's great for beginners. But if you need more power, then you go over to Slicker. And it's a fairly nice slicer. The biggest drawback has been its support controls. You have auto generation, and that's it. So it is worthwhile looking at. And if you do have a Prusa printer, chances are you're going to be using that one as well.
Yeah, I've used it a little bit with my Mark II, and it does produce, because of the profile that it's created, it's pretty reliable results. But like, I never really saw a use for it because of the interface. Like, the interface is really blocky. Of course, I haven't tried the latest versions of the Prusa version, which I know they added a lot to it, but it still looks like a very primitive interface. But I have to say that about Simplify 3D as well. The interface is not what it should be for that price, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Prusa edition has some extra features, but it looks the same as like a 5-year-old slicer version for the structure of the program. But yeah, but they have added special features like variable layer height. That's very good if you want to smooth out top layers. You can do that on a gradual level in the slicer, and that's one of the things I like about that program. But I basically saw that because I just started to print 4 months ago, and I didn't know any slicers, and this was just that came installed with the printer, and I started using it, and I think I've got good results in regard of prints, but custom support is something I've been looking for sometimes in my prints. So
yeah, Slicker. Sorry, go ahead, Mouse.
No, I talk too much. Go on.
You and me both. I think the thing with like Slicker, or Slice 3R, whatever you wanted to call it, I think Mitch hit the nail right on the head with that one. The interface compared to a lot of the other slicers is just very retro, I think is the kind way to put that. I think it belongs in like the DOS / like old Linux era. Kind of the way it looks and feels and operates. It just doesn't have that modern UI feel that a lot of the other slicers have, which is kind of a turnoff. But they make up with it with some of the stuff that they pack in there, like the variable layer height. And obviously with the Prusa multi-material upgrade, you want to use their version of Slicker. So
and in comes the troll comments. Sorry, I admin too much. I can preempt all the anger now. It's like, you guys just aren't hardcore enough. You don't know. Back in my day, something. I'm just gonna like throw this out there. It's like, slicers need VR modes. Like, I want a VR enabled slicer. Bear with me, right? Bear with me. As you think, like, why would you want that? Because I want to be able to, like, you know how like when you slice something with Simplify 3D and it gives you like the line and the layer, and you can like see it go up and see, right, oh, I should add something there, or so and such forth. Sorry, it's late. And I'd really like to be able to have like a 1-to-1 VR representation of my print bed. I think that would really help me like get it. Oh, this is that big. Because sometimes
I actually saw that at the Maker Faire, I think 2 years ago. That lady that does electronics. She had this her and her partner. It's basically VR goggles that have little pico projectors and polarized lenses that are synchronized, or polarized lenses and polarized pico projectors actually project onto a retroreflective film, and it actually has a webcam to do motion tracking. So when you turn your head, it actually tracks it. So what they did is they put a screen, a retroreflective screen over a 3D printer, and you can actually see the projected the three-dimensional hologram or augmented reality of the part on the print bed before it even printed. And it was the coolest experience. Yeah, let me find it. I'll post it because
you have to like add a film to like the enclosure of your printer.
Basically, yeah, because it's like a retroreflective, so it shines the projection back on yourself, and then it's put in polarized lenses so you can see it in 3D. It's really cool. I'll have to find the info on it because
that does sound fantastic. Sorry, can you talk about SLA again? One of the key things you have to do is hollow your models, and here I am in Mesh Mixer, which I'm having more difficulties pronouncing, but this is where the VR would be handy. If I can get in there and crawl through the models and find these hollows and eliminate them one by one, I would love that, because there's one up in the knee that can't do anything, so that would have to be eliminated there. One of the corrections.
I want to be able to write off a VR headset as a business expense on my taxes.
I'll go for that.
Okay, it's called Cast AR.
Cast AR.
CASTAR.
So for that hole in the leg, will that be unset resin, just captured inside the model?
Here, let me go back to sharing here. The big thing with this, there's no resin put in there. We have a skin on it, and this one doesn't have the holes in yet. What you have to do is you add 2 holes to the model so resin can go out one hole and air can come in the other.
Oh, it automatically does it, because I did it. You can manually in the edit of Mesh Mixer add a hole, and I did that recently to a large model that would have cost. Well, we charge a premium for our resin at the makerspace because the resin's expensive on Formlabs, but it would have cost like a crazy amount of money for this model that was like this big, and it was mostly hot. And then so I went in Mesh Mixer, hollowed it out, and it was like 1/10 the cost. But I had to add holes in like a feature that you wouldn't see on, and then make sure that when you put it in your in the Formlabs program, you put it at the right angle that actually does it, and then you generate support in Formlabs software. But I'm not sure compared to like in the Mesh Mixer or in the other program you use, if that's any different than how the Formlabs slicer preform. I don't know if that's different how that generates it, because I haven't had that much experience with it.
Okay, well, what I have right now is a hole tool, and I would put the holes in 2 places. They can't go side by side, so you want them sort of separated. So I could hide this one by the front legs, and then grab the second one, and it being a horse. There we go.
There you go.
Like 2 holes. And then you just tolerate. Oh, hang on, I used the wrong command there. But that's the basics. You move it around, and you ask it to generate. But then if you do not go through this process, let's see if I can update the hollow there. Let me stop sharing and go to what camera I have up here. If you don't go through that, you get very heavy prints that use a lot of resin and don't work properly, basically. So that was my first fail. But the weight difference between these two, this is a hard one for my scale to measure, and this one weighs quite a bit. So that was a very expensive error.
You also have to worry about suction. If you create anything cup-like that has a hollow in it, and it's actually, you know, the PDMS surface of the bed, when it's actually trying to peel, it's like sucking up the resin every time it prints, cures a layer.
Well, one of the
and you actually create a vacuum.
Yeah, This is within Cura. This is the Maya version of Cura. And what we're looking at here is the print bed. This is the side by the door, and the red side is where the hinge is for the rocking. You want to put your models in a line this way, and for the motion for that, I'll show you the reason. Playing with technology here. Let me, and it does relate to slicing a little bit. I'm going to toss on special glasses here. But as you can see the print taking place, you can see the vat rocking, and that's to fight that suction that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So if you can see that taking place there.
And the form printer, it like just pulls up straight and then wipes. Or no, it pulls up kind of sideways and then up.
And I got a failed printer. So.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I was actually really impressed when I saw Mark at Murph when he was showing the Moai, and I was like wondering what he was using, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's Cura." I just changed the profile. I'm like, that's an interesting way to do it. I thought that was pretty neat. That he's modified Cura basically to make it work with it in SLA.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things is the fact you're dealing with G code. So it's a nice warm fuzzy because you understand what's going on within the G code.
Time zones suck so much.
Yeah, it's late over there.
Oh, sorry guys. I was like, I'm normally like more animated than talky.
Oh, whereabouts are you, Miles?
London.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you're 5 hours difference right now, or 6 hours?
It's like just about to be 4 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the same time.
You get a nice view of the night sky behind you.
Oh yeah, thanks. I picked it when I was 12.
It's awesome. I like the glow in the dark stars. I actually thought about 3D printing glow in the dark stars for my ceiling. Just kind of retro,
Downstairs in the room that they used to put my crib in, where I now have like my printers, like a very tiny bedroom / really big closet. Like you're not sure which one it is. I just got my printers in and out, and we still have glow in the dark stars in there on the ceiling from when I was a kid.
Yeah,
but now we can print them.
Miles Xander commented earlier he wanted to know where you were because there's 2 moons in that picture.
Yeah.
Or 2 planets, whatever.
Hey, that's no moon.
I wasn't a smart 12-year-old.
That's me, man. Come on.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I can't imagine being a kid today. I was a kid today, like, I thought, being a 90s kid was crazy with like technology, but even like I'm starting to be old enough to understand when it was like back in my day, we had Game Boys, and that was like cool. And now,
just think they had rotor molds in the 60s. The vending machines that had the rotor mold that actually would like blow mold a toy for you, and it's like you paid like $1 or something for it. I think that was back in like the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, they had them in the 70s. Well, even into the early 80s, I think it was, because they always had them at the zoo, and you can go and pick the gorilla or the rhino or whatever, and it would blow mold it right there for you.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
You can get your lead painted, little figurines or have lead paint made out of pewter. And
one thing that will freak you out, that I realized later on. You guys remember that movie from the 90s, Small Soldiers, where the action figures come to life?
Yeah, that was SLA printing.
Yeah, I was watching that movie just like for a nostalgia reason. Then I see it 3D printing. I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah, they made it look a lot cooler than it actually was. They made it look like it was like lightning or something, or like big lasers, and it actually would just look like a little dot in a circle. I mean, they kind of made it realistic though. But
I just wanted to watch the movie again, and I like freaked out. I was like, oh my god, future.
I don't
and
know
now
if
you see that
watched...
new Boston Dynamics robot. Now you actually have real robots that are going to be.
Dude, that scares me, man. It's like
I don't know if you guys watched that TV show, The Good Doctor, but the other night they 3D printed a titanium bone replacement. And it was like they had it looked like a regular 3D printer, but it's going there. It was like sparks and electricity shooting out of it. It printed titanium, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, I mean SLS printers are. They have lasers.
What the hell is
lasers.
a melting point of titanium?
That crap's been
What?
going on in movies and TV shows forever. Like in Air Force One, he hacked a plane with an iPod Classic or an iPod Mini or something like that. Or what? I don't know if that might not have been Air Force One. I don't remember. Anyway,
Independence Day, he used a Mac to upload a virus to the mothership.
yeah, which is ironic because Mac's known for not getting viruses, right?
Yeah.
Irony.
Titanium melts at 1,668 degrees.
Celsius?
Yeah.
Yeah, Celsius. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't get.
Yeah.
I know this is like the wrong stream to bring this up because I'm like in a stream with a bunch of Americans. But like, can you please metric system already? I can't talk to you people sometimes.
I've been trying to
I feel you. I
Most of
don't
them
understand
are
the Fahrenheit and inches and.
Oh, that metric system.
Will you
I thought we were
trust
just
me
talking about
that
distance.
we're over here saying the same thing? I mean,
We're
pretty much
saying
every
the same
American
thing,
3D printer, every American 3D maker over here is like, why can't we just go to metric for the love of all things fluffy?
Yeah.
And I work on CNC machines for a living, and everything, they all come default as inches, and then everything in my head, I'm like half inch, 12.7 inch, 25.4. I'm thinking in my head just to convert it back.
Well, and see, I'm a construction estimator, so everything
exactly.
put in inches. So it's like my whole hobby is metric, but my job is standard, and it's like,
And you go to Home Depot and you buy a 2x4 that's actually 1.5 by 4.5 or something like that.
3.5, 1.5 by 3.5.
Yeah.
I love giving
make
people
sense,
directions here. We just tell people, I'll go 3 miles that way, make a right, and then it's about 1 kilometer down.
That's good.
That's like a Blade Runner future where everything is smushed together, like all the languages, all the measurements. It's like that's 3 inches, 4 millimeters, right there.
I give people angstroms.
Whatever measurement's closest on there. It's easier to do inches here, centimeters there, whatever.
It's big. It's for bolts though. Like bolts are the biggest thing for me because I don't know what a number 6 screw is. I don't know what like a 1/2 inch thread, 32, like it's 32 threads per inch or something like that. But if you have metric bolts, it's the diameter of the bolt. Like M3, M5. It makes total sense. And then they have standard thread pitches, and it's not like all these random thread pitches. There's rough and fine.
I'm with Ripcord there. Cubits. How many cubits is it?
Yeah, cubits.
What's a cubit?
I think it's the length of your finger or something, or it's like the length of this. I don't know. That's
not relative, is it?
But
no,
first of all,
the bigger
a foot is literally an English king. I forget which king it is, but it is literally one of the kings that we had's foot length. That's literally what it is, and we just decided that was the length.
And then the Americans changed and made it a little bit bigger because
that's what we do.
I don't know what you get.
It's a Texas.
We overcompensate for things.
Yeah, the Texas foot is actually bigger than the American foot.
What?
There's a yard, and then there's the Texas yard, y'all.
The Texas yard.
One of my favorite things to do in the 3D printing group because I like to mess with people rather than be angry with people. Because otherwise I'd be really angry all the time. I feel like I come in there like the principal, like, no, you guys cut it out right now. Be nice. So I'd rather just like be funny about it. And one of the things I always do with Americans is I just like scream like Alex Jones, like 1812 will commence again if you don't cut this out. Right?
Wait, when was the War of 1812?
I'm gonna come in there, I'm gonna burn the house down, realize this was a bad idea, and leave.
Yeah. Always like the fact that you guys left one of the windows in the White House unpainted after the fire.
I didn't know. They don't teach us that in school, by the way. They don't teach us that.
Yeah. There's one of the windows was never painted, so you can actually see the darkening on it. So
no one expected the Spanish Inquisition.
Exactly.
In the U.S.
That was for you, Nick.
Thank God for that typhoon. That's why I don't speak Spanish. Oh gosh.
Are there any other slicers out there? The little
All right,
known ones?
slices. Yeah. I forgot about that.
I just write I just write the G code by hand. I just take a caliper and like G05 E something, and then I go, and then I just have a blob of plastic. No, but you have to think about it because I work for a CNC company, and we have and CAM software is where really all slicers came from. So, and I think I've heard somebody say that the simplified 3D slicer or engine looks really similar to a CAM program, a popular CAM program. So I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's probably a completely different engine, but I'm just saying, the way that CAM programs have advanced to do toolpathing, toolpath generation, it's kind of translated into slicers. So like I'm amazed. I'm assuming like in the back end, it's using the same kind of algorithms. The only difference is that you're using a mesh instead of an actual like vector drawing. You're using like a mesh input. I'm not sure how that difference is, but
Is it just
I'm
a
able
mesh,
to
like a bunch of vectors laid on top of each other? Though?
No, well, kind of,
But
but
like-
it's all triangulated. It's all triangulated, right? So an STL is a triangulated mesh, and so it has to. It basically, I think it has to calculate on a certain layer where the facets are in that layer, and then it has to average it. But then it generates the toolpath based on that, which is a whole nother algorithm. Like I would love to learn if somebody who is smarter than us that have actually contributed to writing a slicer can explain it like I'm 5. I would like to really learn how slicers actually work behind the scenes.
Where do voxels come into play? Because I've heard that before. It was just mentioned in chat.
I wouldn't think of voxels unless you're building it out of like nanobots or something. Like Gort, you're just gonna have like reassembled nanobots that generate objects for you. I mean, that would be kind of cool in the future. But
And that's the part. This is the
all
part where I
geometry.
wish.
I remember coming across it doing research, but I can't remember it all now. So
Yeah, it's probably like point clouds, right? Point clouds are just 3-dimensional points, and then it's just a whole bunch of them. And from a point cloud, you can directly generate a mesh based off of shortest path distance between points, and that generates a mesh. And so you can actually, and also like I've actually done 3D scanning with an Next Engine scanner that generates a point cloud, and then it generates a mesh. But then you can also output a T-spline, which averages that mesh into a actual curve, which would generate, which would output to a CAD program. So you can actually have a quadrature or like some kind of T-spline form that's actually that's not just raw data. It's actually curves and beziers that generate a 3-dimensional object. So I would imagine if a slicer can actually import, Bezier data or T-spline data, it can maybe more accurately slice an object instead of having a bunch of facets. I don't know. So like I said, I don't know how it works behind the scenes.
And this is the part where I wish I didn't drop out of uni, and I could probably have explained it to you by now if I didn't.
Yeah, there's some talented. And that's the thing is, I don't even think anybody recognizes the actual contributors or programmers behind the scenes on slicers. Like, I mean, there's a lot of open source slicers, and I mean, I've never actually even begin to dive into an actual the source code for a slicer, because I can't imagine like what's going on.
I can't keep up with the stuff I already have to do.
Yeah, it's pretty magical. Like if you think about it, like it has to. I mean, slicers are pretty magical. That's what we're gonna say for this whole chat. It's just slicers are magic.
I agree.
Yeah, it's true.
When you sit there and you look at some of these things and go, this was complicated in there. Now this is the Form 2 sample. But when you take a look, there's a DNA strand inside, the very inside of this thing. It's very small. And you just think of, A, the modeling work, but B, then dealing with the slicing to make all this come together and as a nice solid object there. it's mind blowing.
Yeah. I mean, it is an algorithm, and algorithms are really what does the magic of all computers. I mean, it's just math. It's essentially just math. Yeah, it's how you can make math work for you, basically. That's way beyond my capability, but.
Well, I took a calculus course, and at the first exam, I wrote 10 reasons why I shouldn't be in the class. At the turned that in, and that was my last day of calculus. So.
But those mathematicians that figured out algorithms for finding, closest geometry points and stuff like that are now like enabling us as, I would call us creatives, now enabling us as creatives to like do amazing stuff. If you think about it, because without the slicers, we would have. What is that?
Sorry. You ever get mad when you have someone who's amazing at math like that, and they can do that, and they can like create you an algorithm to do this amazing things, and they're basically like, to you, they're just doing voodoo math magic. But then you're like, what's 12 times 4? And they're like,
that's actually my roommate. My roommate's a PhD in mathematics, and he's just like that. He's like really amazing and can explain complex, mathematical stuff, and then you ask him to do something. He's like, well, there's a calculator on your phone.
Yeah, he's just like,
thanks.
He like can't do like simple stuff. And I'm like, how can you not do your times tables, but you can do calculus? Yeah, like what?
It's the way the brain thinks. It's really neat. I mean, if you think about it, we're actually slicing stuff all the time. We're analyzing, 3D forms. I mean, that's kind of, we're gonna get really meta in this chat, but like, that's what I'm thinking.
Existential.
Yeah.
Ripcord, do you want us to sing a song so you can go get your snack, or we'll just continue on here? Trust me, you don't want to hear me sing.
Goose happy.
I think one of the magic things that kind of weirded me out about 3D printers when I found out most of them were 8-bit. That kind of tripped me up. I was like, wait, all of this magic is happening with an 8-bit computer? What?
Yeah, well, I just put a 32-bit on my console yesterday. I put the rearm for ramps on it, and holy crap, that thing just cleaned up a lot of artifacts. It made the printer just overall a little, I would say, smoother. It's not quite as jerky as it was before, because it's running it off the SD card from the rearm instead of the SD card off the LCD or through USB. So it's like direct hardware. And it is just nuts, the kind of quality that I'm getting now with 32-bit. I mean,
yeah,
I'm kicking myself for not doing it earlier. But yeah, 8-bit is still amazing for what we're doing. I mean, still, it's simple G-code commands don't take a whole lot of processing power.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes from the RepRap movement, which was kind of piggybacking off the Arduino movement of open source hardware. And then it also is kind of like based off of, CNC controllers before the Arduino and cheap microcontrollers. I remember having to get a old 486 computer with a parallel port out to, and it would like literally just send pulses to the stepper motors, and all that stuff had to be done with like a really slow processor, or like up to the point where and that was a technically 16-bit or 32-bit computer doing that. But I think it's again the math behind it. It's G-code interpretation doesn't require that much really processing power. It's more of the 5 other things that it has to do, like temperature control and acceleration, and but the 32-bit controllers, I think there's really no going back after you have a 32-bit controller, and I think they can enable a lot more things. Like I bet they can enable like actually slicing on the fly. Wouldn't that be cool to be able to slice on the fly? So it's like slicing and sending commands to the printer at the same time. Like I bet it could be powerful enough to do that. Again, somebody has to make it.
You can slice with like Octoprint directly on the Raspberry Pi, and it doesn't take that much longer than a PC.
That's true.
The Pi 3, yeah.
But have you The thing I don't like
I've only
about
done it once.
the slicing on the pie is the limitations of the slicing. I mean, if you have like a print, like a go-to print that you have to print a lot of all the time, or go-to settings that you use all the time with a specific material, then it can work great for you. But I'm like dialing so many random settings all the time that I gotta have a full-blown slicer.
Yeah, I was trying to suggest. I actually did the Kira profile for Octoprint recently with my friend's Rostock backs, and it actually had a pretty good. And actually, it was kind of cool. I did it from my hotel room, which was a couple hundred miles away. I was actually able to create and upload a Kira profile and then print. So, and Joe Mike's freaking out over here.
I'm printing PETG right now on the Prusa, and it smells like it's burning.
Oh, it probably is. It's probably totally engulfed right now over here.
I'm looking at it on the Octoprint web interface there. It looks fine. It's just, that stuff strings and it goops up on the nozzle and eventually just starts burning on the nozzle. And then it starts leaving the little black chunks in the print. I don't
and you can't really get rid of them. I've tried.
I've never had that experience
3D printer problems.
Then again, I've only used literally one roll of filamented recycled PETG that Rob sent me.
That's probably pretty good stuff.
I have nothing to compare it to, but so far it's been pretty good, and I'm like 3 weeks away from writing the article about it. Every time I try and write more stuff, as I've been getting into writing recently. I don't know why anyone wants me to write things, but apparently people like reading them, so I keep doing them.
That's good. That's how YouTube channels happen.
Yeah, people want me to do that, and I'm going to try and get it done for like the beginning of next year. So all the people who want the 3D printed meme content, I'm coming for you. I just got to like set up a proper place to do it and things.
Yeah,
but it's like it's like where was I going with this? Sorry, it's really late. No, I forgot where I'm going with this. My brain's still soaking.
You need that caffeinated filament to vaporize pure caffeine in the air.
I want to hear more about the 3D printed memes.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm just gonna be like the PewDiePie of 3D printing.
That'd be awesome, actually.
I'm just gonna meme it up for the kids. I'm just gonna
I kind of thought Joel was the PewDiePie of
No. Joel is like too sensible and intelligent and stuff. I'm gonna like trick the kids into learning by just throwing memes at them and then like useful information in between the memes, and they won't realize they're catching the things.
I did print a very beautiful Richard posterior that was this big. I'll have to show you after hours. It's definitely not appropriate, but
I'll tell you one thing that's like I'm just gonna start like bitching about stuff that happens in 3D printing group now. It's that kind of night. People
probably
get,
not
like,
on the public video.
People get like majorly triggered over like people printing like busts and like sculptures and things. So it'll be like a sculpture that you see in like a museum, and like someone prints it, and then like 6 people will tag it for nudity, and I'm like, my phone's like beep 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 beep. I'm like, what's going on? Someone's posted a swastika. Oh no, it's just a boob. God.
I always think of Joel as being something like the Mr. Rogers of 3D printing.
Yeah, I could see Joel with like a knit sweater, taking up his sweater, putting it in the closet, talking
so nice.
to someone probably, We need to make this happen.
But don't you guys be saying anything bad about my daddy Joel.
Joel is so nice. It's actually beyond belief. Like every time, especially when he was admin of the group, when he was like doing that, when he had time to do that, he like 50,000 people ago, he was just so nice to everyone all the time. He never got mad. He always understood. He always listened. I'm like, are you even a real person? How are you so lovely?
I can confirm he's a real person.
I'm getting flown out to Murph, so I'm gonna meet a bunch of people. You guys never come to Europe. It's frustrating as hell. I feel like I'm on an island in the middle of nowhere.
That's because the U.S. has the better 3D print shows.
Yeah, Joe Mike, he has to leave.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, Joe Mike.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go find what is burning in my house.
That's a good idea.
Good luck with that.
Guys,
Turn off all your breakers.
Thanks for letting me chat, and I'll talk to you guys later. Don't forget, guys, everyone, and I'm sure everyone in the chat already knows, but the Matter Hackers sale ends in a couple of hours. So if you want crap, go get it.
Hey,
the one that you
before,
don't have.
before you run off, plug your pies, buddy.
Plug my pies. That sounds dirty. Okay, so
Not till after midnight.
Joe Mike Terranella. That's my YouTube handle. Mojike, MOEJIKE is my Twitter handle. J Terranella on Instagram. Facebook/JMT3D on Facebook. Joe Mike on VidMe. And hopefully I'll have videos coming out this weekend if my space doesn't burn to a crisp. In that case, we'll still probably have a video, but it just won't be quite the same. Content
If it burns down, you get more views.
Yeah, leave the camera on so we can record it.
Yeah, last time it was he
Fire
was
and look after your stuff.
we weren't
That's all
sure
we
if he
need
was
is-
alive.
More stories about houses burning down with 3D printers in them. Yeah, that's
Yeah, 3D laser printers.
perpetuate that. Okay, bye guys.
Yeah,
Bye.
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 Oh, dear, no, it's on
Yeah. So is there
I've only had one 3D printed fire, but anyway.
is
Okay,
there
done.
anything more you want to add on slicers that you had thought of before the stream that we haven't talked about?
I need to learn more.
Replicator G or Replicator.org. It was good at the time. It was actually Skyforge when it originally came out. So it's Skyforge was into Replicator G, and it was for the MakerBot.
Yeah, it's not like the first MakerBot. It's like 2012.
I had 2010. I actually have a MakerBot cupcake. I had one. It is terrible, and I gave it away. But it was Replicator G. It was written in Python. It had the interface was like a bunch of buttons and boxes and text boxes. Like it was very much the programmer's slicer, and it was really slow. And but it worked. And like it was what I would imagine being my first slicer. I think there was Slick 3R was still around. I think right around the time that Skyforge was around as well. So, but Skyforge, like if you want to go back to learning about slicers, go to Skyforge and look it up. And it's Replicator G was like the interface for the STL generation and stuff for the MakerBots, up to the duplicator, MakerBot duplicator, and then MakerBot went to the dark side, and then they made their own terrible program that I'm not even going to talk about.
Yeah,
But
I actually have a question for you guys, because I have a very knowledgeable panel with me. You'll see this go up on like Monday or Tuesday in All3DP. But I'm writing an article about should we forgive MakerBot? Are we like done being angry yet? I wonder what you guys think about that.
I don't think I really care because their business is kind of started to fail, and so it's like, you know, it's just like the tech shop failing, right? It's like I'm sad about it because it's less people going to be empowered to do stuff at a makerspace, but like then again, like, you know, they got greedy, just like MakerBot, and it kind of bit them in the end. And that's my opinion, but you know, this is only public, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they have their proprietary slicers for their printers, right?
Yeah, I think it's MakerWare.
It's
I think it's
MakerBot
called
desktop.
MakerWare. Yeah, MakerBot desktop or something. I'm sure it's really good. It's just that they don't give you any control over anything. Like it's very primitive, you know. But I mean, it has a decent interface apparently. Again, like I've never gotten the duplicator or 5th gen MakerBot. I haven't had experience with it because they're usually broken and sitting in a classroom collecting dust. But I'm not a MakerBot person anymore after the cupcake.
Yeah, there's one of those printers in the Fab Lab that is here in the neighborhood where I live, and most of the time it's out of service, so nobody can use it.
But I mean, MakerBot, yeah, like somebody mentioned in the chat, that it's a different business model. MakerBot is a different business model, just like TechShop is a different business model. it's not meant to be. It's meant to be for people that just want to get something that, you know, they can take out of the box and make products, even though I didn't think that was actually true. But it's not the best printer in the world. But I think they've improved on their quality a little bit since the 5th gen smart extruders started failing and they had the lawsuit. Yeah, it's crazy.
The main like focus or point of the article so far, if that I need to put the finishing touches on tomorrow, or I guess today now. I'm not mad anymore about it, but I'm like, how is MakerBot competitive anymore? Because you see, like, the main focus of their business is now schools, and I'm like, oh, so it's someone else's money, so you're not really shopping around. Because, like, the Replicator Plus is probably pretty good, and I know a couple people with it who swear by it, and they're like, it's really great, but, like, it's not competitive in the market today for the price. There's, like, no way I would buy one.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be competitive because the education market, maybe in the U.S., I'm not sure other places, but they have a list of things that they can buy for the school district. And like Polyprinter, the company I worked for, they were trying to get on that list because they could sell to all the schools in Texas. But again, like the big thing is support, because if these schools are getting, these teachers are writing grants to get a 3D printer, and all they know about is MakerBot because their marketing is really good. Really, I think that's how they're competitive and relevant, is because their marketing is really good.
So they want to be Apple.
Yeah, I mean, they've wanted to be Apple since Free Pettis first started it. I mean, I think he even said it himself in that video. And I met Bree Pettis, and he's a really, really good guy, at least in 2010. And he was really passionate about it because it was still new. Like, I was still watching like the rep videos of the real primitive Darwin, you know, printing its first part. And then I saw the MakerBot thing come out, and I was like, well, this is amazing. But again, like, then they had just went in a completely different business model, and their marketing was different. And I'm sure Stratasys has a lot to do with it. I mean, should we even mention with slicers? Like, should we mention like professional?
You don't get to use Stratasys unless you're some kind of big company or a millionaire. Every time I go to like TCT or another show, I'm like, this is really great, but it's $25,000. Walk away slowly.
But it's a different business, right? It's for commercials. They want printers that they can just have a service contract and it prints for them. And, you know, it's tougher. I mean, it can print ABS, but I've actually seen a U-print fail probably just as much as a $500 printer. So
yeah, I can imagine.
They're not perfect, but it's just like my company. I have, you know, the CNC company I work for based, you know, is big industrial CNC machines versus a ShopBot or a Shapeoko. Like, there's really no comparison. It's just how they're built. They can do the same thing theoretically, but it's just a bigger, heavier duty machine that can last for a long time and have a service contract along with it. I think the service contract is a big part of commercial 3D printing. Is having technicians that are willing to fix it at a moment's notice. And, you know, and honestly, if you want to start a business, and that's what I'm even thinking, is local 3D printers. You know, the problem is people don't have the money to really pay somebody to fix their printer. But if you want to make a little bit of money, offer to help fix 3D printers for people. Because a lot of people are just willing to just throw them out because they don't understand it or they can't fix it. Like, people really would pay for the time to actually fix a printer.
Yeah. Would they pay, like, I think the minimum I would probably want to get paid to, like, go to someone's house, pick up the 3D printer, bring it back to my house, fix it, and take it back, be like at least like 100, 150. And I don't think anyone's going to pay that. I wouldn't pay that.
Well, it depends on the printer, yeah. The more expensive commercial printers.
If it was like, yeah, it was like a Lowe's or an Ultimaker or something, but then what can go that dramatically wrong with something that expensive?
Yeah. I mean, I toured Lulzbot's a facility, and they have a lab where they'll actually take in printers and fix them and refurbish them and stuff. So there's I think there's definitely a market for it still. But I mean, if anybody has any ideas on that, I know we kind of got off on slicers, but I think it's kind of something to bring up is, you know, service and paying somebody else to fix your printers instead of us like hobbyists that we want to fix our own printers. Like, do you think that's still a market?
Well, I think the problem is it is going to depend on the printer because coming from a PC background, it got to the point where I'd be out on site at $75 an hour, for 3 hours, and suddenly I've exceeded the cost of the computer when they bought it originally. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the hardware is so cheap. I mean, somebody with an A8, which is now selling for like $130. You go out and you're like, oh, I'm $75 an hour. They're not even going to want you there for an hour. So, yeah, I don't know. It would definitely depend. Now, if they have a $2,500 Ultimaker, that'd be different. But or something.
Yeah, but like on the Ultimaker, what is going to go so wrong? I can't think of what would go so dramatically wrong on the Ultimaker because how well it's engineered for that money. Like, what's going to happen that's going to require you to go out there and do that? Are you gonna unjam filament at $75 an hour?
Well, yeah, because you may have somebody that has more money than smarts.
Yeah, or a $150 cartridge that you just pull out of the Ultimaker 3.
Yeah, the
I think that's why they designed it that way. I mean, that's why MakerBot made a magnetically detachable. It's a terrible design, but it could have been good. Removable head so that you can service it. I mean, and basically throw it away and you get a new extruder hot end assembly. That's basically their model, was to basically buy a like $250 printer head that you just threw away and got a new one. I mean, it's almost as expensive as like buying an inkjet, whole set of our inkjet cartridges at full retail.
I'm so glad I've never had to pay for those things.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm the same way now. That it's like even the E3D hot ends, if I screw those up, it's still expensive, but at least I know that they're charging reasonable prices for custom machined parts. Like, it's actually pretty amazing.
And it's British.
Yeah. Yay, 3D. I want to get Sanjay or somebody on this channel just to answer questions for a whole night.
They work so hard. I imagine that it would be very difficult to get them to stay up till 4 a.m. They probably really need to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't do much.
Sleep? People actually sleep?
No, I lose time, sleep time for 3D printing because I'll get really into it and then I'll get frustrated.
I can't sleep well when I'm doing an overnight print. I'm too anxious about it.
Yeah, so I just mentioned that I basically wake up when I have a print going, and I'll just wake up randomly and listen for a little bit to see if I hear any difference, and then I'll go look up. But I like the idea of like being able to get the phone next to your bed and look at Octoprint and be like, okay, it's okay, I can go back to sleep.
Yeah,
Octoprint is so cool.
I often wake up to listen to the sound, and even my wife woke me up the other night that she heard something unusual going on with a printer, and she woke me up and asked me to have a look at it. So,
your wife, man, she cares about your prints.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's a good woman.
Yeah,
she's awesome.
Yeah, and also if I could, like Joe Mike, if I could smell it, I'm like, I'm a little weary. So.
Yeah, you definitely want to find out the source for a burning smell.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
again,
you got an enclosure. That's nice.
The thing is, it's so quiet. The laser part, there is no noise. You hear the rock, and in the next room, you can barely hear that. So it's hard.
And if you have a failure, it's just a glob of resin stuck to the PDMS. You just scrape off and reprint, right?
Globs. Yep.
Yeah, it's just a glob of expensive uncured resin.
Very expensive globs, but yeah.
Yeah. But there's no actual like physical moving parts that can actually get jammed.
No.
I'm gonna see if I was told I can't show this. Hold on. As I got something you guys might find interesting. I'm just checking
the
my
one thing
emails.
I was actually surprised you don't put much resin in to the vat. So if you're doing a larger print, we just did a part. The client actually had the file sent to him and was told, go find someone to print this for you. And it was for a commercial coffee grinder. And it was fairly large. So the concern there is the running out of resin in the vat. So got through it though.
Yeah, that's the thing the Formlabs printer has really good is that it has an automatic pour system from the cartridge, which is really neat. And it's cool because it actually doesn't pump the resin. It actually just has a little like rubber nipple basically, and it has a servo arm that basically pushes the nipple, and then it drips resin into it. And all of that sounds really terrible, and it is. But it works really well.
Is the resin in the cartridge then? Are you able to store that for a longer time because it's not exposed?
They say a year, but I don't believe that. But because it is a black cartridge and it is airtight as long as you seal the cap at the top, and the rubber nipple is like it's a valve. It's basically a rubber valve. There's no leaks when I take it out, so it's actually been pretty good. The problem is when people, especially at the makerspace, get resin on their hands or on their gloves, and then the resin ends up everywhere else but the printer. just taking it out of the print, even if they don't even touch it, they still get resin everywhere. I don't understand it. Like, I'm super careful, and I'm constantly using isopropyl alcohol everywhere to clean it off. But once it's cured, you have to just get a paint scraper or a razor blade and scrape it off. I don't know if you had that problem, Richard.
No, it's been nice and neat. I found like my daughter just did another overnight print with her Prusa, and when I was listening there for that, is I could hear the filament moving from my bed, and so you're listening to that chunks and that. But over here, you just hear that rocking motion. That's all you get, and there's been no mess. But there's no indication about getting low on resin.
Yeah.
And I was thinking at one point I was trying to get a makerspace going here, and that's sort of on the back burner right now. But I was thinking the Form 2 would be much better for something like that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, especially since we paid extra for the VIP warranty thing, but we haven't really needed it too much. Like, it's actually printed really well. We've been able to figure out the problems. And their software, again, back to Preform. The Preform software is really good. It's probably one of the best 3D printer programs I've actually used. Like, in terms of simplicity and with the whole system. The problem is it's a very tight system. Obviously, it's a very proprietary system. You got the cartridge that has a chip that feeds back the information on how much resin there is to the Preform software. The Preform software automatically finds it on the network, and it does everything for you. And that's what makes it really good. It's the whole system. But we're so used to open source software and in kind of bottom basement priced printers that we're just used to Linux grade software. I mean, I'm not saying that Linux grade software is bad. It's just it's open source. They don't have a whole R&D marketing team to make it look really nice and have a GUI and have a whole system that's feedback information. They're meant to be really compatible with a lot of different systems, and that's kind of how the slicers, I think, have evolved the same way. That they're trying to be good compatibility more than user. Yeah.
Yeah. With the slicers, you talked about the high end there. Has anybody seen some of the software that comes out with things like the Polaroid 3D printer or the Dremel? They have, what do they call it? Print Studio software. Has anybody seen what these companies are putting out with their, the machines designed either for very basic entry or for kids? What do they use?
I've never actually used it.
I didn't know Polaroid was still a thing.
Now, Polaroid, and I heard a blog about this.
And Mattel has a toy printer too. And Mattel.
Yeah. Polaroid, I think, is only available in the EU, but unless expanded.
I better grab one quick before we build the wall.
Yeah. What about that company that went out? There's the Buccaneer. 3D printer. That was terrible. Like I can't imagine like the Ono or whatever that's coming out. Like all these oddball like.
Dude, I don't believe the Olo's coming out, man. I can't believe it. I don't believe it until I see it. Like
that.
People gave me a lot of heat when I told them not to back that thing, and I read the article about Kickstarter printers. I'm like, dude, just pay the extra money when it comes out.
Yeah.
Until I see that, I don't believe it. I do not believe they believe it.
They had a
still feel
functioning
like
one.
yeah.
They had a functioning one at New York Maker Fair.
So it is real.
And when I say functioning.
Yeah.
Well, the Dremel printer, Matt on chat there says Print Studio is an Adobe product, and that's the software it ships with the Dremel. I bring that up because the Dremel gets pushed a lot.
What's it called?
Train magazines as a tool for hobbyists. So
what's the
Studio?
Dremel called again? Print Studio.
Or that was the slicer.
Yeah, Print Studio, which is
the Dremel printer just
like an all-in-one.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting too with slicers is that some slicers are actually built in with like links to STL repositories, and like I've never really seen one with Thingiverse, but I mean, have you guys ever seen that where it's like a closed ecosystem for like beginner 3D printers?
Thingiverse has an API. I think you could do it.
Yeah, I think Kira will go to their My Mini Factory, right? Or something like that. They're usually like links to it, but like I've seen these like printers on Kickstarter and they all look the same to me. But like the Matter and Forum or the T, that weird looking one that has like a class enclosure on top of it, and the platform moves in X and Y. But it has like a app, and the app is like it has like pre-sliced models that you can print directly from the app instead of having to like download an STL and figure out how to do all that. It like has its own repository for like beginners. And now I'm blanking on that.
I'm blanking on life right now.
Yeah, I've heard of some of the ads in the spring were talking about some of these low-end kids ones, and that was the big selling point. Is you go onto the website, pick your model, and it prints it, and you don't have to do anything else. So
yeah, the new Matter that's called New Matter Mod T. I think Jill did a video on it. A couple other people have done it, and it's supposed to be like a very user-friendly, like take it out of the box, have your like 5-year-old print their own stuff. Even though I still don't really see that actually working, but the software itself, like there's more and more Kickstarters for printers that you just pick a model off of an app and press print, and you don't have to worry about some random error models. So it's kind of like a curated like thing.
Do you guys think there are too many 3D printers on the market?
No.
I've always
because really all of them kind of innovate in a way, or they're copies. Their copies are innovators, right?
If you go back to where the computers were in 1980, that's what 3D printing's like today.
Yeah, there was a million different. Everybody wanted
type of computers and that, and it slowly sorted its way out. Some failed, others were bought out, and things slowly improved. I think that's we're going to see that.
So does that make the Prusa i3 the Doom of 3D printers, and everything else is a Doom clone? I remember when everyone was using the phrase Doom clone.
I think it's like the Commodore. It seems like more of a Commodore type of product. Like it's a budget friendly. Well, I don't think the Commodores are budget friendly. I don't know. I wasn't around.
Yeah,
I just remember 486s.
4 colors. The Prusa has how many is in there in the multimedia? 4.
Yeah, 4 colors. So you get 4-bit color. Yeah, we're gonna get to the point where 32 bits. That means it can do so much, and it's really just 32 8-bit registers or something like that. Like, you know, it's a marketing tactic where it's like, you know, hard drives are 1 terabyte, but they're actually 900 gigabytes. You know, I think 3D printers have fallen into that a little bit too, where it's like, oh, you can get as low as 50 microns, and then like nobody prints into 50 microns.
Apparently, the code collision is going to rise again. I don't even know what the code collision is.
I have no clue.
Cold collision. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Ancient memories.
Who has a house phone? Talk about ancient technology. Whose house phone is ringing?
Oh, that's my mom's. I'm at my mom's place. That's her timer. Let me mute.
Now, if you want to get into that stuff, the games and the reboots, that's where you have to go back to Nillabean there and his new store, the Golden Goblin, because he's into selling that sort of stuff.
Yeah, Nillabean hasn't been on the stream in a while. Like,
well, he's been focused on his new store, so.
Oh, that's cool.
I think he's retrofitting old game consoles and reselling them and finding old games for it.
He's put together a very nice store. The grand opening was last Friday, and he has a channel now called Golden Goblin. If you want to go see, as he talks about the process of going through and getting everything ready for the opening and painting everything and getting the right shelving in and mixing up codes from suppliers. You're just going through the process, but he has the brick and mortar store now, and for a while in the front he had his original Prusa thing there printing, and he actually said yes, his front counter, the only reason it went together was he was able to quickly print some parts for it. So he's still around.
Oh, sorry, dropped out.
We're kind of like an incubator if you think about it. I mean, we're helping smaller passionate people get off the ground, if you think about it.
Indeed.
Hopefully,
and people in the audience too, like all the people in the chat that are.
I was actually thinking, right, since we've been like talking about all of the technology and how this like where our time sits and sort of where we are in the process of 3D printers being evolved, like when are we going to get the iPad of 3D printers or something? This is why I only found the Fun King 3D channel. Like I only found a channel like maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I just binge watched everything. And I think like the most interesting stuff is actually like all the videos where like Xander is the main host, because I can see like he thinks differently about it, because it's like it's just a thing for him. Like 3D printers are a thing that exist in my world, because I'm like, I don't know how old are you, Xander? 11. See, so like it's just like 3D printers are just normal. It just exists in his world. So it's like it's kind of weird for me to be like, when I see his specific videos on the channel, it's like completely changed my perspective. I was like, oh, he gets it, but like in a deeper way than I think any of us get it. I think the longer this happens, and in like 5 years, I think it'll be more apparent the difference, because like we have to like change our thinking, where that just kind of is his thinking. You know what I mean? If that's making any sense at nearly 5 in the morning.
That actually is a good point, because it's just like, I mean, it's like programming in CAD. Like CAD was a lot less accessible, like even when I was a kid, and I'm probably closer to Miles' ages, but like CAD was less accessible, and CAM features, software and stuff. Like I was trying to build a CNC router like when I was like 15, and like that's when I was talking about getting an old 486 computer with bit banging out of a parallel port. And like I think now that even in the last 15 years, that's like changed exponentially. And then the idea of the maker spaces and all these new ideas that's come out just in the last 10 years. And now the kids that are growing up in that like will think like, oh yeah, maker spaces, everybody has one of those. And I don't know. I think it's
getting
kind of
away
neat.
from the mentality of I have to go buy what that guy designed over there, as opposed to I need this, I can design it and I can print it.
Yeah.
And it's well, I just went through this with my brother. He's on the other side of the continent. He's an engineer, but he's never been involved with 3D printing. When he came by, he needed a part, and I only get to see him every couple of years. But I showed him what a 3D printer could do and whipped off a part for him. And all of a sudden, the eyes open up because he's been working on some machines where they're using heat shrink and trying to get convert things from incandescent lights to LEDs and trying to make parts for that. And I said, well, just give me the dimensions and we can print it out and we can fill a print bed with these, and material cost is nothing. Design cost will be taken care of over time. And if we're selling 100 of these, then that's the first print run and it'll work fine. So, but he just wasn't in the headspace of being able to design a custom part, out of these sort of materials. If it was out of metal, he wouldn't have a problem because he has a machine shop. But, to be able to print a part like that and print it over and over and over again and tweak it as, say, the LED supplier changes, we get a slightly different dimension. We don't have to retool anything. We just go change the drawing a little bit, reslice it, and continue on going. It's a new world. And, some companies are getting into it quite nicely. Big company, it's adopted it, SpaceX, Aerojet Rocketdyne, major firms that are totally brought in this world of 3D printing into their production lines. And the places where it's, no, we're going to machine each part and continue on. We got to change our headspace.
Yeah, I think when printers are getting more and more common, the kids will pick it up very fast to either use like Tinkercad or even Fusion 360 to design some parts and have them printed out. And they're really quick to pick up things like that. And when one kid shows up at school with a 3D print, he will get 10 or 15 kids interested in, and it happens very fast with kids.
Well, I'm wondering, Xander, what did the kids at school think about what you're doing?
I don't think he talks to the kids at school.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah, they don't.
Xander doesn't really bring a lot of 3D printed stuff to school.
No.
He's and I know I told this story before. He's the safety patrol. He's on the safety patrol, and they have these belts. And the lady said that it's real common for him to lose the badges because the pins were no good. And of course, during this meeting, my brain is going, I could fix that. There's got to be a way. And we did. We printed out these little clips. And I don't know, I printed, 50 of them, threw them in a Ziploc baggie, and now all the kids walk around with something that we printed. They don't really realize the amazing part behind it, but, it's all around them, and I don't know, they just don't realize. But if you guys haven't tuned into Arduino Makes, all one word, Arduino Makes on YouTube, he's 11, just like Xander, and that kid knocks my socks off. He was actually teaching me stuff about Tinkercad.
Yeah, Technicali too, like Allie from Technicali. She's amazing. Like the stuff that she's made videos on, like I'm like, I want to be that when I grow up, and then I realize I've already passed that. But but it's true. Anybody can really start at any age. I mean, like I said, if I was like Xander's age and I learned Java programming for some reason, because that was what was available at the time before Python. If I learned Java and continued on with it, and I learned, CAD work, like I'd probably be like, some senior level engineer. I mean, it's amazing, and that's all stuff I could have learned. If I had more than a 5-minute attention span.
That's the major key.
Yeah.
Yep.
I ain't got it.
But it's true. Like Lego Mindstorms, like were a big thing when they first came out, and like I was using Lego Mindstorms the same way I would use 3D printing. Like it was a way to make prototypes that can do anything, you know. And now that I have, you know, like Legos, I guess would be the first, like.
I was just really
like
excited
printing.
to have a motor with my Lego.
Yeah, like yeah.
They didn't have all that back then.
Yeah, I remember those Techno Legos with motors. It was the greatest thing ever.
Or what's the German equivalent? It's a fabric. That they're basically Technics, but the German company that makes them, and they have a 3D printer that Tom made. Anyway,
I do remember
like
the one you're talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And like erector sets, right? Erector sets, like, you know, I guess when you grew up with that, that's all, you know. Like, I don't know, maybe all the nerdy kids were playing with those things, and cool kids were, you know, playing sports. But...
all the nerdy rich kids.
Yeah, they were expensive. I don't know how my parents afforded any Lego kits.
Lego. That's how you know you're in love, when you had the legit Lego.
Yeah, like real Lego, not Mega Blocks. But
I can't get a decent
again, when you get 3D print stuff, and you get to the point where you're like, oh, $300 for a Lego kit, or $300 for a 3D printer that can make Lego kits, you know?
That's the key.
Yeah, I mean that's actually what's cool about growing up, you know, I guess in that world where, I mean, I hate to say it, but like where everything you have made is like really cheap and available in technology, like cell phones. I mean, you're gonna go back to cell phones when you're like, I mean, okay, I'm probably young enough that cell phones are more part of my life than some of you, but you know, like now I can't think of going back to a regular, you know, like not calling people all the time or texting.
I think I got my first mobile phone when I was like 11. I think around 11 I got my first mobile phone.
Wow, that's fancy. Yeah, you're definitely young.
I never got it.
I was already in the professional world, and my company bought me my first one, and it was like ridiculous.
A bag.
Well, no, it was a little bit after that. I do have one that's in. It looks like one of those day planner bags, but mine looked like a brick, and with the little flip up antenna like this, and it was I forget how much it was monthly, but then it was like $7.50 a minute to talk on it. And every time I used it at the end of the month, the purchasing lady would call me and she's like, "Why are you using that phone?" And I'm like, "To call clients. Why did you buy it for me?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember carrying around the bags and that, and very hit and miss coverage for it. But
or you sent somebody a number on a pager that's like code, or like call me.
Yeah.
See, I miss pages. I was too young for that. By the time I got to like that age, pages were like done.
Yeah.
My dad got a BlackBerry. I remember that. I think I was like 12 or 13. My dad got a BlackBerry, and then his pager was gone.
I used to carry a work pager, a fire pager, and a town cell phone, and a personal cell phone, and a fire radio. So you just have all these electronics around you. Unfortunately, I had my kids by then, so.
Yeah, Xander got a question in the chat about, are you printing a drone?
Who's printing a drone?
Sorry, we were muted. I had to get over there. He was actually typing back in there. Just go ahead and tell the story about the drone for those who don't know.
I don't want to. I don't
tell your audience.
I lost.
So tell the story why you lost.
So I really wanted a drone, and these people had the greatest idea to put a poll on Twitter if I should make one, if he should buy one for me, or if I should buy one for myself. And yep, best community ever.
Twitter said he should build that he should make one. So
that's awesome.
We haven't started that project yet. I'm still researching the hardware that goes behind it, but I think I've picked the actual 3D printing side of the project. So now I just got to put the hardware together. So
are you talking about like a 250 like race drone, or? Like just one that
I
flies?
I don't know that much about drones. I just want something he can fly around and crash a few times, and then
Yeah, so basically the equivalent of a like one of those little like 100mm ones that basically using like pager motors or something, or
Yeah, I think it's about. I think they said it's about the size of a 250. So
okay, yeah, like I forgot what it was called first, but so I spent quite a bit of money recently on 2 drones. I got a Tiny Whoop, and if you actually look at Tiny Whoops, they're like, I think they're like little 80mm ducted fan drones, and they're really tiny. I think like that, like really small, and they're FPV, so they actually have the camera on them, and you can get the headset. But people actually race those things, and it's cool because they can do them in really small areas, like in a room with a bunch of lit LED lit hula hoops, basically, and they have to fly through the hoops. It's a really fun hobby, and you can get in. I think the Tiny Whoop that I bought was $100, the Inductrix. But there's a whole community of people that are doing custom drones that size, like really tiny brushless motors, really tiny flight controllers, really tiny carbon fiber frames. But I mean, if you crash that, the parts are really cheap, as opposed to a 250 where, they're not quite as cheap. But
yeah, we're kind of looking in maybe the $50 range.
before you even do that, I would recommend buying or downloading a simulator and getting a decent transmitter. You can get a 4-channel. See, that's even more than $50. It's kind of tough at that range, but like getting a good transmitter that you can use for other things in the future, that's like the first investment.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, I had talked to some guys out at Orlando Maker Faire, and they said, just go get him one from Walmart. Like a $30 Walmart
just
drone.
to practice, yeah.
Yeah, because he's never really. I mean, he's flown them at Maker Faire and stuff, but he's never really done it. So just kind of a hands up. But I'm a maker. I don't want to go to Walmart and buy a $30 one. I would rather spend $900 printing one.
And you probably will too. Well, what's cool is the flight controllers are all Arduino based, so you can actually program the flight controller. All the ESCs and the batteries and all that stuff you can get on Hobby King for like a few dollars per component. So you can really price it out. The most expensive part, again, is the transmitter, which also has open source firmware. If you get the Tranus, or there's a couple other ones, but the OpenTX firmware is all open source, and you can actually program the transmitter to do a million different things. So you can get to the point where everything is super customizable, programmable, everything's modular. It's that's what's cool about the drone thing. But I feel like I'm too late to this whole hobby, because now everybody's just so advanced. Like, it's like jumping into 3D printing now, when everybody's like, oh yeah, Prisa, now we're gonna jump to this, and now we're gonna jump to SLA.
I think
it's like
like it just makes it just like your acceleration will just be better. Like I was just a couple days ago like unboxing and setting up the CR10 Mini, and I was like, I wish this was a thing in 2013. I would be so happy.
Oh, me too.
I
would have had a whole print farm of CR10 minis if those were cheap and available a couple years ago.
Why was this not?
I agree with getting out there and getting a cheap one to practice with. And over there in my HO stuff, I have a garage that it's rebuilt now, but when my son was learning to fly, it and the garage had a unfortunate incident, so HO parts went flying. But anyways, it's my model came out worse than his. But it is worthwhile training on those before going up to more expensive. And part of it is just finding out, are you interested in doing this? I just happened to
get a 250 race quad, and from somebody who's getting out of the hobby. And so I'm like really afraid. I'm afraid, but I want to get into it. And like, I'm more afraid that I'm going to spend even more money and time on another hobby after I have 5 other hobbies that take a lot of money and time. Like, I need to pick and choose at this point. Like, it's getting a little dangerous when you spend all your time doing drones or all your time doing 3D printing.
Yeah, there's just not enough time in the world to do all the stuff you get interested
I know. That's why we hang out on Friday morning, night.
in. Saturday morning.
Yeah, Miles is looking pretty tired.
Yeah,
Martin's probably like Martin's probably asleep over there.
I want everyone to know if I'm real mean on the 3D printing group today. All these guys' fault.
Yeah. Well, I'll be a moderator for a few hours if you need a
Don't, you don't want to be.
No, I would just block all the posts. Be like, okay, 3D printed guns blocked. 3D printed, sculptures blocked.
I really I don't mind the discussions. It just everyone turns it into like.
What's the best $300 printer?
No, don't bring that back. Don't revive that meme. It was dead. It's like I just like the thing that makes me happy and also perplexes me is like I've been accused of being every bad thing you could be, regardless of what you believe. It's like I'm a fascist, I'm a communist, I'm a statist, I'm an anarchist, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm everything, which is like impossible for me to be. It's like everyone just like projects their own national lens into something. Like, I have to remind people like this is not X country. Please do not treat it like X country.
Yeah. The 3D printing group is probably the most diverse group I'm in. Like,
there's so many people in there from Burma that just blew my mind when they brought out their group insights thing, and I'm just like, there's 1,000 people in here from Burma, and 90% of them live in this city and this city. It's like I would have never, for a long time, like India overtook it in the last like 3 months, but for a long time it was the United States, the United Kingdom, and Burma as like the countries. It's like, what? It completely blew my mind. Like, it's a really great
Martin, we're hitting the 2-hour point here, so we should do the rounds.
We're gonna do the rounds. And now I have 50 minutes until my print is finished, and I'm like, should I stay up and just get it?
I think you're muted there.
Oh. Yeah, he's muted himself.
Come on, Martin.
He's probably too busy sleeping.
Nope. Well, I don't know what he's up to, but why don't we? We'll start. Who's first on the screen there? Glenn, Xander.
Yeah, I think we're the first ones next to Martin. I don't know what Martin's doing, but hi everybody. I am Glenn,
and I'm Xander.
And together we are Fun King 3D. We are a father and son team who does 3D printing and electronic projects, mainly on our YouTube channel. Recently, we've adopted VidMe as well, and surprise, surprise, you can find us there at Fun King 3D. That works pretty much everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, funking3d.com. So I've kind of run the gamut to try to find as many places as we can register that. Some of the upcoming projects that we have coming is this little guy right here. I'm actually in the process of shooting the first video for this, which is a YouTube subscription counter, but it has the ability to be some other cool things. So I'm going to release a series of videos on this over a few weeks. Videos.
Oh. I thought you were making a drone.
That's a whole nother project.
Oh, okay. That's not the circuit board you're holding.
Oh no! What I'm actually building, this is not really channel related. This is actually a Christmas light controller.
Oh, that's cool.
My Christmas lights dance to music, and so I save about $100 buying these as a kit and just soldering them together myself, and it's therapeutic, and I like it. But no, this guy right here is probably my next upcoming project. But I'm still ongoing with the AM8. It's taken forever, but we're getting there. Xander, what are you working on, buddy?
Xander's thing Thursday.
Don't tell me, tell them. They want to know.
Xander's thing Thursday.
Put some pizzazz in it. Sing the song.
I don't have it memorized.
Oh, my kids sing that song all the time. So,
no,
but
it's the JoelBot song.
Oh, no, it's the JoelBot song. So tell them about Thing Thursday when it's coming.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say tell them about JoelBot.
Tell them about. They're waiting on you.
Okay.
Go.
Okay. Xander's Thing Thursday comes out every Thursday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I print a model and talk about it. Yay.
And I'm not letting him have a script
Yay.
anymore, so it's going to fluctuate a little bit, but he's getting better. He's got to learn to talk more.
Yay.
So, no more Penn and Teller. So I guess.
No, I watched the JoelBot one. That was pretty good. Yeah, because the JoelBot is blowing up. It's the new Benchy. I think.
Absolutely. Well, and that's the first one that we did without. And I think I kind of messed up because I didn't give him the model beforehand. I handed it to him at the last second. I'm like, here, tell me about this. So, but yeah, he's got his JoelBot there. Don't drop it because he'll break. I know it's not necessary, but I do want to do a shout out one more time to Joel. How much we appreciate you for doing what you've done. To go from 347 subscribers to now over 5,000. I just can't even. It's just amazing.
Oh, you got featured. I forgot about that. That's awesome.
That's probably where I found you.
Yeah.
I don't remember how I subscribed to your channel, but it was probably through Joe. I can see that.
He has that. He could just point his finger and
like, this is good.
That's the Joel effect. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you know, I don't know if you guys know the story, but when we first got started, we only had 33. We only had 33 subscribers.
36. And
okay, maybe it was 36. And we were fighting to get to that first 100 to register our name. And I'd reached out to Joel through email. And Joel didn't know me from anybody else. And I just said, hey, I'm looking for ways to promote my channel without coming across like a jerk. I don't want to spam myself. I just want to know, like, if you have any ideas on what's a good way to do it. And he didn't even write me back. He just went on Facebook and made a post and said, hey, go check these guys out. And we went from 30 whatever to 75 in 2 days.
Over 74.
No, it was 75. You go to bed. And just like that, just boom, to have that big of a jump. That's the Joel effect. But this has blown my mind, because when I woke up on Saturday morning, I had no idea what was even happening. I got no warning. And James from Print and Play had sent me a tweet, a DM on Twitter, and said something like "well" or "whelp" or something like that. And then I sent him back a question mark, like, what? And he goes, really? You don't know? You don't have any idea? And he's like, you got to go look at this video. And then all of a sudden it was just exploding. So all my plans for Saturday were destroyed because I spent the whole day staring at Social Blade. So, but it's been an awesome roller coaster, and I truly love our followers. Everybody has been very supportive and awesome. So,
except the 2 people that leave.
Yeah, somebody keeps thumbs downing Xander.
There's 2 people now.
But yeah, well, it might be one guy with 2 accounts, but so he gets 2 thumbs down on all of his videos, and he hates it. I don't really care.
I have 2 accounts. I'll double sub people.
Trolls are trolls. Whatever. Like I can handle a thumbs down. What I wish people would do though is step up, and if you're willing to thumbs down a video, take 2 seconds to leave a comment why. Yeah. It's not like they're gonna get hunted down for it. I'd like to know. I'd like to know why. I'd like to know why people don't like it. We can't change. Not that I would change for one person anyway, but I mean, don't stop giving feedback. That's always awesome.
His YouTube comments are super helpful.
Yeah. You'll probably get like the opposite things. You'll be like, I want shorter videos. I want really long videos.
Yeah.
Well, what's really funny though, and James from Print and Play is bad about this too. Somebody has sent him twice now an anonymous email. The first one said that that his self-promotion on Reddit was destroying the community, and he was upsetting YouTubers, including some of the big guys like Joel and Angus. And so he got hold of me, and he's like, this really bothers me. He goes, do you think Joel's mad at me? And I'm like, I doubt it. I don't think Joel's ever been mad at anybody in his whole life.
I don't think it's possible.
I'm like, what's up? And Joel's like, I have no idea. I have no problem with James. But like I had one guy leave me a comment that said, I need to make shorter videos. And human nature, my brain said, oh my God, I got to work on shorter videos. nobody else said that. You know, why was I focusing on that one guy? So, but that's just human. That's just the way we are. Xander and I are who we are, and I mean, we're just going to keep going. So we hope
I always strive to make videos that I want to watch, right? So I have a 5-minute attention span, so my video should be 5 minutes long. But if you have a tutorial video, at least change the camera angle or the position or what the screen is doing at least every couple minutes, at least to kind of keep people interested, even if you do a voiceover.
Or just throw memes at the screen.
Well, if you're gonna make a 3D printed meme channel, you better register that name now.
Just be like colors, shapes, sounds. Oh, you're watching a time lapse. Now it's going backwards. Who knows? We're weird.
So you need to be the new MTV of 3D printing.
Oh no, man! Now you just dated yourself. MTV is not cool anymore.
I don't think it ever was cool, but maybe somebody.
It was cool.
Should we carry on with the outros?
It was cool back in my day when they actually had music on.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Miles, you do.
You know what's funny is YouTube actually replaced MTV for me because now I just watch music videos on YouTube.
That's true.
Yeah.
We did the outro.
Okay.
I don't really have a channel yet. If you really want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at Miles B. Scott. Everyone join the 3D printing group and send me memes so I can keep my spirits up because everyone's yelling at me all the time about something. Yeah, just I don't really have anything to promote. Just thanks for having me. It was definitely worth staying up for. You guys are cool. I can't be back frequently because sleep is really good and it's free, but I'll be back soon. I'll try and come back and say hi again on the stream.
Yeah, thank you. And Mitch.
Oh, I'm the Mitch22 on Twitter, and I'm also Mitch3D. Mitch3D.com forwards to my YouTube, which is now YouTube.com/Mitch3D. Mitch3D on Facebook, and I think I have a Facebook page. I think I'm Mitch3D everywhere. I'm trying to get that. It's short and sweet, and it's easy for me to remember. But right now I'm working on the Eris, Benjamin on the CME-CNC group. He has been really helpful recently. And so hopefully we'll get some more information for people that bought a CME-CNC Eris because there are some issues with it. And I also built a Rostock Max, which is on my channel, which is a really, 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 really long build video. So I'm going to try to shorten it down into like a 5-minute video, like a time lapse with narration, because I found some interesting points on the build. But the Rostock Max is a very, very good printer. Of course, I would wait because there might be a new printer coming out from CME-CNC. And I'm also building a D-bot because I want to totally over-encumber myself with 3D printers. So watch out for a D-bot video. I've been talking about it for the last couple months, and it's still sitting in the box. So after I build 5 drones, 3 3D printers, I'll finally get to that one project.
Yeah, thank you. And Richard?
Okay, I'm Richard. The channel is Zidim, Z-I-D-I-M, and I'm Zidim17 over on Facebook, although I'm normally on 3D printing for model trains. I'm Zidim17 on Twitter. We've made some changes to our Facebook pages. We now have F3DPCH public, and we'll announce what's coming up on there. For the next shows, we're on every 2 weeks, but we also have one that if you are interested in becoming part of the streamers and that, you can go over to F3DPCH-streamers. It is a closed group, but you can put a request in there, and it'll talk you through the process and maybe get you in line to take part on these things. And with that, we had a couple of things going on. We are looking for a logo for F3DPCH, banner size and icon size. We'd like to get them submitted by the December 8th, and then we will be voting on them on December 15th, and it'll happen during the December 15th stream. So get your creative juices going and see if you can come up with something, preferably something that can be printed. March is the first anniversary of the F3D Hangouts, and so Matt has put in there that, you know, we'd be really nice if we had something that we could print to commemorate that. So once again, looking for creative juices. And once again, thank you, Martin, for hosting us this time around. And you know, you're another trooper there, because what time is it your place? 5 o'clock?
Yeah, it's 5:20. Yeah.
Well, there's my plug. So everybody, you know, put your juices together, and thanks. And don't forget, we hang out after we're done this. Let's just make sure we're off the main topic, which we left a while ago anyway.
Yeah. So
now we can talk about inappropriate things.
but you're watching 3DP Iceland. That's my channel. I do some landscape prints and paint them. I've done several of those and have been sending them out to various YouTubers just for fun. And this is my first time hosting, and I hope I did a decent job. But that's me. I'm 3DP Iceland on Twitter and 3DP Iceland on YouTube, as you already know because you're here. But that are my main two channels. I don't have a dedicated Facebook account for the 3D printing part. Yeah, so that's me.
Cool. Thank you for hosting.
Yeah, thanks.
Now, these are always a lot of fun, and get a lot and find out from other folks that are focused in on the hobby/business of 3D printing, and we get to find out what everybody's doing here.
Yeah. I was calculating the amount of money I've got from various 3D prints, and I've paid in 4 months almost the price of the Prusa MKT2 printer. So that's just by printing random requests from people. I don't have a Etsy store or a 3D Hub or something like that.
All right, guys. I hate to say it, but Xander and I are going to duck out. We have a lot of Christmas lights to hang tomorrow. We have 1 week before our big lighting, and it's a lot of work. But so.
Do you 3D print the hooks for the lights?
Yes, I did actually.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All my lights that go on the house are actually mounted to 1/2-inch EMT conduit. So I just take them out of the garage already in 30-foot sections or whatever, and
that's a
put
good
them up on the
idea.
house.
Yeah.
So I printed gutter clips this year that'll hold them, and I'd show you one, but they're all downstairs. But yeah,
I'd like to see a video of the controlled lights. I'd like to see it.
What's that?
I'd like to see the lights when they're done, like when they're animated.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, see, last year I didn't have a YouTube channel. This year I will definitely record that. Yeah, I will record that and get it. I mean, I know it's not really Fun King 3D related, but it doesn't matter. It's really cool.
You printed the hanger, so that qualifies.
There you go. Yeah, I'll like show the show and then zoom in on the hanger at the end, and then that'll tie it all together.
Yeah.
Well, technically, we do electronic projects, and I mean,
then we won't be demonetized.
Here it is. So.
Yeah, I have a challenge for you. You have to give out the specs in millimeters and centimeters.
Right. All right, guys. Good night. Thank you, Martin.
Good night.
Good job, brother.
Thank you.
Night, man.
Good night, everybody in the chat.
Bye.
Cool.
Yeah.
So now we can start talking about all the things that get banned from the
Mike still has a house.
Yeah.
Don't know what
Mike
happened.
still has a house.
We're definitely off the air now.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for coming.
Fuck TiVo. They've been making my life hell.
Okay.
I don't think Chris is still around, but the last thing I built was from him. I don't know, if he came up with the design or if he got it from someone else, but it's a light bucket.
Yeah, no, I followed that. I watched the bucket video. That actually was a really good idea.
No,
I think we lost Miles.
So
I died.
the only difference for mine is I added a hook, so I can
that's a good
actually
idea.
hang objects so they're not sitting on the bottom, so they get full exposure to the ultraviolet there.
You know, I've noticed though, I've used like a nail salon UV curing for the Form 2, and I was gonna make the bucket because I think it's a better idea, but like exposed UV light is a terrible idea for your eyes because most people want to stare at it just like a bug swatter thing.
Yeah.
Like you just want to stare at it and you realize that you're just burning your eyeballs with UV light.
Oh yeah, that's right. Get it covered, and you don't have to worry about that.
Well, it's a good idea. It's just like all these makeshift solutions for it, and you realize that how dangerous UV light can be to the eye. Yeah, but
no, it's this has been a neat part. This is really simple printer build.
Yeah,
and,
I really like the Moai. It's still a little outside of my printer price range.
I would buy it, but resin is really expensive.
Yeah. For me, I got a 3D printer for my trains. And
and trains are specific too for like miniature modeling is very specific for SLA. Like I do mechanical parts, and so FDM is more appropriate.
Yeah, I imagine that at Games Workshop and a lot of the train companies are like, there's $1,000 SLA machine. No.
Well, just the gaming world. We talked about Nilla Bean there, and his regular gaming channel. He started getting into the 3D printed scenery and other suppliers, where you can download the files, and you pay $15 for a set. Some of them are free, but you print those out, and if you need 10 of them, you print 10 of them, as opposed to going over to a game shop like he owns now and buying the printed parts, the cast parts, and paying $30 for a small set. And if you need more, you go pay more. And before long, you've spent your $1,000 just on the store-bought scenery as opposed to printing just what you need. So that has to be hitting that market. And for me, I got the horses here. You got your scenery people. I'm trying to figure out where this cow went. I had a cow sitting here, but it was a commercial. There it is. Commercial cow. And, this is Woodland Scenics. And here's the horse. This one, even though it is out of resin, there's still less than $1 worth of resin in there. Whereas this cow, when you look at the set, this is probably a $3 cow. And
do you pay for the models?
For these, I'm generating those models.
You're designing them, or?
Well, those ones, I'm working with them within DAZ. And I actually bought the rigged horse, and they have a printing component in the purchase agreement for that. So now, since it's a rigged horse, I can manipulate all aspects to it. For example, I ride horses, so ears are how you read what a horse is going to do. You follow the ears, and you can manipulate those ears on here. So,
you're using a program that does organic models.
Yeah, right? DAZ 3D is really an animation. It's like,
but you get assets from that, and then pose them, and then print them.
Yeah.
So you're not scratch building these, but
no. But okay. I'm starting with some of the people. I'm starting with just in ZBrush. I started playing with the stock person, and then slowly molding that into what I need for some people on the set.
And your buildings too, the buildings for your train sets, like
I haven't gotten there yet, but that is my goal.
Okay, I need to watch more of your videos.
Well, actually, I don't. Most of my content is right now live stream.
Yeah, and I like that format too. It's just I feel like I bore people with live streams, and that again, the 5-minute attention span. If you could take what you did in a live stream, all the important parts, and then condense it into like 5 minutes, that's
well, Chris's videos for doing the Moe, practical printing. What Chris did there was fantastic because he had the build broken down into such short segments. It was easy to watch and just go through day by day. What has he done for this part of the build? And that was a wonderful format for going through a build. I quite liked it.
Yeah, miniatures are always fascinating to me, especially like dollhouse size.
Well, that's actually the other thing I'm working on is dollhouse furniture.
Yeah, because that's a I didn't know how expensive that stuff. Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, that's where the one I'm working on, client wants me to make specific furniture. It's his mother's living room furniture, but they want it all as dollhouse size.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And the agreement is I can now sell those models.
So you're gonna like 3D scan the chairs and tables and stuff?
Unfortunately, I have just some stills to work from.
So you're gonna model them.
So I have to model them. So that
especially with really ornate like Victorian furniture and stuff. It's
you get some very challenging aspects to it. So, but good learning curve. But dollhouse furniture, when I started looking and examining it, I'm going, wow, people really get into this. It's not what I always thought dollhouse furniture being, what the kids play with. No.
It blew my mind was this video, I think it's Japanese. This guy makes miniature cooking. So he'll like fry like miniature tempura shrimp in tiny little pans with a tiny like tea candle and like a miniature stove and like has a miniature plate and knife and like it just blew my mind.
Yeah, I've seen those.
I'm gonna use this opportunity. We talk about Victorian furniture to rip on Americans and your concept of old. All right, it's like I remember when I was at university, we had like American foreign exchange students, and they're like, "Oh, we're in England now, and it's like history and culture and everything. I just want to see something that's like old. I want to see something that's like older than the United States. Where can we go to see that?" And I was like, that.
Yeah,
that.
It's like the reason that London doesn't smell like sewage because they, the whole sewer system.
I mean,
it's basically furniture in Europe.
Yeah.
We had to build that because we had a summer that was particularly hot, and it was called the Great Stink. And so it was like so bad. It was so bad that people were fainting in the street because it smelled so bad.
Wow. It's some interesting history, I'm sure.
Well, I find, with the printing and the steam engines, studying how steam came about, they always go back to the big pumps in London that are actually named after royalty. And they're the pumps designed for the sewer system. They've been refurbished and they're, they run.
We just had to take Big Ben offline. We had to take the bell down and refit it, and people are pissed. Like, so
they're probably gonna put a digital clock that's just
no, it's just the bell.
Digital clock.
The tower is a different thing. The bell is what's called Big Ben. But like,
I see.
But like, they like it hasn't been ringing for like maybe 2-3 weeks, and like tourists are pissed. And it's like actually like we came to London. We came at midday. We came to see the bell. We went midday. Came bell didn't ring.
They're just handing out iPods with the sound of the bell.
Yeah, just how big speakers playing the sound.
It is pretty cool, and I imagine it would have been cool like 200 years ago. But like London, we're paying so much taxpayer money to fix this old shit. It's like the refurbishment of Parliament is going to cost like £2 billion.
Wow.
Because it's like we have to do this very specially, and we only know these people who know this skill to do this thing. I'm like, can we just have another fire, please? Just burn it down. It'd be way cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't even talk about the White House refurbishments. But anyway,
I bet it's cheaper. I bet it's cheaper.
And
The
no,
White
it
House
probably
is
is cheaper. It's obviously we didn't have one painted window, so they probably just forgot about it. It's just like, hey, this window's kind of a little darker than the other ones, so let's not repaint over it.
And I don't think that's the thing you guys need to be worried about when it comes to spending money. Like,
No, not at all. Like,
not at all.
I think locally though, like some of our infrastructure, I'm sure over in London too, but like, it's like roads that are constantly under construction and like have been since most of my life.
Oh, bro, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny as hell when I'm getting yelled out in the 3D printing group with they're like, well, you don't want us to have guns and you're from a communist. Apparently, I'm from a communist country. This is great. But like, we should let them know what happens in Iceland where people fuck up. Like, you guys actually put the bad people in jail.
Yeah, normally we do.
That blew my mind. And like, remember when the financial crisis happened and a bunch of people were like, top bankers in Iceland put in jail. We're like, we should move to Iceland. They actually have laws.
Yeah, we basically put all of the bankers in jail and all the crooked lawyers in jail, and a lot of people went to jail because they were screwing the country.
See, we would never go to jail here. No one ever goes to jail.
What's the population of Iceland, actually?
340,000 approximately.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
It's mostly land. It's probably just mostly empty land. I mean,
more people live in my borough of London. That's nuts.
Yeah, we have a relatively large country, landmass wise, but very few people.
You know that Iceland and England went to war over fish in the 70s?
Yeah, and we won.
Yeah, you did.
Oh.
Yeah. The British sent some frigates and some warships, and we basically had one or two trawlers taking them on, and we won that fight.
The EU told us to stop technically. And now, once the EU is finished, we're coming back. We're coming back for the You ain't gonna do shit.
Yeah, we might adopt Britain when it leaves Europe Union. So you can.
One of the funniest things when we left the European Union, and one of the funniest things when Trump got elected was everyone was like, he wants to build a wall. Building a wall is racist. And like all English people are doing this, and I'm like, guys, we have 2 walls to keep Scottish people out, and they've been there for 1,000 years.
Wow.
We don't have 1. We have 2 fucking
and they don't work.
They did work. They did work. All the people manning them left in the year 900.
Yeah.
Because the Roman Empire was collapsing. It's like, I actually need my legion back, so you guys can manage on your own. So the legion just abandons the wall, and it's like, then the Scottish people literally just like, so pillaging.
I like how the Canadians are just up here like, yeah, we're cool. We're just gonna stick to ourselves.
No. You look at like when like the British colonies that like colonized the Canadians is like, we're just gonna go on an Indian massacre. Yeah. It's like, this is all mine now. I mean, the Queen still personally owns millions of acres of land in Canada, like as a personal thing.
Yeah. One of the ranches in Alberta just sold about 10 years ago, but that was owned by the royalty. What I find interesting is that I cross the border quite often, and when we're coming back into Canada, there's a special bin there for Americans to unload all their firearms.
Is it usually empty? I mean,
I've never checked myself.
Okay. I can't imagine any American like voluntarily, stuffing their gun on the border.
Dude, people get so mad when I'm like, can you not post 3D printed handgun files here, please?
Yeah, I can 3D print a new one when they cross the border.
It's mad. No, man, it's like, I don't get it. It's generally a cultural thing. I don't get why you need a lethal weapon.
No, pretty much in Texas, like in Texas, I think once you turn 18, I think they just hand you one. Mm-hmm. You go to the DMV, the motor vehicle department, and then they just hand you one. They're just like, here you go. You might need this. Yeah.
You get your driver's license and the gun just
Yeah.
to shoot the cops when they stop you and check
Oh,
your
God.
license.
It's so crazy.
It's
But I
un-
mean,
it's unreal
and then
to me.
you tell people, you explain to people like from Texas, where I can literally go down the street and with like a very minimal background check, buy something that's cheaper than it would cost me to 3D print a gun that wouldn't work that well.
Yeah.
I mean,
What
I'm
I
really
find
like
interesting,
to
you
talk
get
about
all
that.
these notices up, but the biggest concern when you cross the border heading south is citrus fruits.
Citrus fruits?
You got sniffer dogs in there, and if you've had an orange in your car or something, you get a major search sometimes.
Really?
Yeah.
They're triggered by that? Huh.
Oh yeah,
That's weird.
Quite
I've
often,
never heard
flying,
of that.
my ex-wife, she would eat a lot of citrus fruits, but wouldn't have any on the plane, but still get pulled over by the sniffer dogs. Have to explain to them that, no, this, I had an orange today.
Yeah, that's a real danger of having some fruits in your car.
Yeah. Well, it comes out of California because it's such a major industry out of there. The citrus industry. So.
Yeah, it's funny. I mentioned this before, but that like when I talk about 3D printing or when I'm doing 3D printing as a business or something, it always seems like it's a drug deal because like everything comes in little plastic baggies, like it's a supply that you're addicted to. Like, oh, I got the newest filament. Like, you want to try some?
I got into some sketch situation the other day. This guy contacts me on the 3D printing group. He's like, I need some 3D printing done. Can you contact my boss here? He doesn't have social media. I'm like, yeah, sure. Turns out this dude's trying to get me to 3D print cases for fucking tasers. And I know in America that tasers is not like a big deal, but like in the UK, tasers are considered firearms. So it's like I would be helping to illegally manufacture firearms, which you can imagine would be a long time in jail.
I mean, I've printed. Okay, I've seen people that print grinders for herb grinders.
Yeah.
And but there's a lot of gray market stuff that's just like, it's plastic. To me, it's just plastic. I don't care what it does.
Well, in the UK, we don't actually have. In the UK, we don't actually have laws like in the US against like drug paraphernalia.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's like we don't have laws.
We'll hand you a gun, but we don't care about. We care about drug paraphernalia.
Yeah, it's like we have like legal prostitution and gambling everywhere, so it's like just kind of lightly spread over everything. I finally printed a proper spool holder.
That is a giant spool. Like,
yeah, I couldn't.
Why?
I was like,
why do you have that?
Because Colorfab is really good, and it costs £35, 2.2 kilos.
Wow,
huge spool.
That's a good deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
That spool's bigger than most printers, I think.
Yeah, that's why I need to design their own. It's 2.2 kilos.
2.2.
I have another one downstairs as well.
Yeah, but the inner core of the spool is so big. Why do they have it like that?
Because it like it goes all like when it's full, it goes out to like almost the edge. It's freaking huge.
Well, I think the idea is that the smaller the inner core, the tighter the inner filament is packed, and the more bend radius, I would imagine.
Apparently,
I would imagine you don't want to have a really tight spool.
Yeah, apparently this is supposed to be specifically designed for this. This is the Colorfab spool holder. It even has spots for like pennies or something at the bottom. That's what I've been waiting to print this whole time. Why I stayed up. I would have like ducked out like 2 hours ago if I was like, yeah, I can wait for this to print. Yeah, I can wait for this to print. Yeah, I can wait for this to print.
If those estimators were any good.
Those estimators are dog shit. I've started this print at 10 a.m. It's just finished at 5:40 p.m. 5:40 a.m. It's almost 24 hours. It told me it was going to take 12. It's almost double time.
So I'm planning on I'm trying to slice it apart into something that is the biggest print I've done so far. the biggest print I've done is the playable acoustic guitar, which is probably about like, I think it was like 600 millimeters. But like I can't say anything, but I'm gonna probably need more than 2 kilograms of filament for this one.
Large print.
If you're gonna get it, though,
Martin, thank you for hosting. I'm gonna take off here. And it's great to be back in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, see you, Richie.
Yeah. All right. Night all.
Night.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are troopers staying out this late.
Yeah, it's 5:45.
5:45. Yeah.
Now you can have breakfast at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna start drinking tonight for the first time in a couple of years.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get messed up.
Yeah, we should have bacon.
Yeah, bacon and some cider or something. I don't know. What's the breakfast of choice in Iceland?
Yeah, it's very different between people. A lot of like cereals are very common. It's not like
you get full breakfast, but you will get fat real quick.
Yeah.
For Danish breakfast, it's like 1,700 calories.
But you got like gravy on top of toast, on top of gravy, on top of bacon, on top of pork.
Yeah, sausage.
That's probably an American breakfast too.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we actually take a pizza and we wrap it in a pancake and pour syrup on it. No, I'm just kidding.
I would have believed you.
I would totally eat it too.
Yeah.
I've been putting on weight, man. I've been sitting here too long. I've been like sedentary.
Yeah, that's why my job gets me at least like moving, which is really nice. That's why I like it. Because I would totally sleep all day.
Oh, I've been doing that shit, man.
Yeah, it gets tiring being tired.
My favorite meme over the last couple of years is I have crippling depression. And just like that. Great.
There's actually a YouTuber, Robert Cohen, and he's a robot combat guy, and his latest 30-pound robot was called Crippling Depression. So every time he beat somebody, he'd be like, "You've been beaten by crippling depression." And it ended up being like a really good robot. Actually, I would encourage you to look at his videos, Robert Cohen, because he actually has a Tormach, and he actually shows you how he made the robot with the Tormach.
Right. I watched NYCNCs and NYCCNCs. I watched that. But
yeah, there's a lot of good Tormach stuff out there.
I'm definitely going to bed now.
Yeah, you guys. I'm gonna duck out before midnight too, but that's a big spool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got one that's almost full downstairs.
Yeah. Well, now you can sleep knowing that you have a giant spool holder.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to print like a second one, but this took way. I did it 15% infill because I'm like, this is gonna be used and bent and stuff. So I printed it at like 50%.
Actually, looks like a really good find.
It's like, yeah, they made it themselves.
Yeah, I like that. But I'm wondering how I can get that in the U.S. cheaper.
For the spools?
The Color Fab 2.5. Yeah.
Oh, if you're gonna do it, I suggest you buy the economy pack. It's like 150 pounds. No, it's 150 euros. So it's like 150 bucks, but it's 4 of these.
That's actually a good deal.
It's a good deal.
I think, yeah, it's something like probably 20, 30 US dollars. I'm probably going to buy Atomic Filament next because they're actually pretty reasonable cost. I was going to buy the Matter Control or Matter Hackers. No, I bought Matter Hackers Nylon X. I bought a second spool of Nylon X, and it was almost $10 off, which was a really good deal because that stuff's really expensive. It's half a kilo for $65 normally.
I mean, this is the normal size Color Fab spool.
Yeah, I like those spools.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's way more.
It's the same material as well. There's just less colors available. It's like 5 or 6 colors, but it's still pretty good. The next one I'm gonna buy is gray. I like gray. Okay, bad. Oh, I'm not young anymore. I'm actually getting old.
Yeah.
How old are you again, Mitch?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm 29.
Oh yeah, that's about where I thought you were.
Yeah. Marteinn's like what?
Yeah.
You're 29 too.
No, can you make 2 guesses for me, please?
Well, the days are longer in Iceland, right? So really, you're younger. That's how that works, right?
I'm gonna say 42.
Yeah, I'm actually just a few days ago I turned 42 years old.
Hey,
Oh,
we got the powers.
congratulations.
Yeah.
You're pretty good at that, yeah.
Yeah.
How old am I?
24?
Damn it.
Well, you
That's
told
pretty
me, I
close.
think.
Yeah, I told you already.
Yeah. Okay.
24,
Yeah.
44. God damn.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it's cool that we have this, even this 3D print discussion, that everybody's kind of learning it at the same time, no matter how old they are. You know, you got
Yeah.
Xander who's 11, and we're, you know,
Yeah.
and we're still all discovering the same things. So,
Yeah, it's great.
really neat.
It's a great community. I found out in this 4 months I've got a printer, how the community is, everybody is helping each other. And
It's a great community because I ban everyone.
Yeah. Hey, Miles, what's the best $150 printer?
It's the one where you get banned.
Yeah. But
I want to, if you 3D print a band hammer and then we just have a good action shot of you and then we make a meme out of you banning people.
Dude, I love when people send me screenshots of people being like really salty about me in other groups.
You can create your own. You create your own fan page, like an anti-fan page.
Dude, it was great. Like, especially with all this TiVo thing, I was like, guys, send me screenshots of people talking shit about me. I want to see if it's any good. It was not. It wasn't
Oh my god,
even
the
good.
TiVo discussions.
It was like, oh, he's got that weird guy on as his avatar. Who does he think he is? Oh my god, he should really grow up. I'm like, insult me, you idiots! Come on, do something. At least call me a communist. That's the one the Americans love to do. They love to call me a communist.
Yeah.
I mean, we share everything. We're all open source, so technically, I mean, sure.
But like, what is it with the Americans and calling me a communist?
Oh, I
can't even vote for our left-wing candidate this time. Like, all the young people are like, socialism is great. This new socialist guy is great. He's got he's literally like, his campaign logo thing was like yellow on red. And I'm like, I can't vote for this. I'm sorry. It's not me. It's like, some of this stuff is good, but most of it's cancer. This is bad.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, you are crazy. And then I get a bunch of Americans going, you damn communist. Oh, fuck.
It's a pretty good accent. That's pretty accurate.
God damn, boy. I swear I need to put my liberator handgun in your group, and if you don't let me, I will come to your house and shoot you.
Once. Because you can't reload it.
I actually got doxxed from the fidget spinner banning. That's what pissed most people off.
Oh my god.
Guns and Trump, nothing. Fidget spinners started shit.
Yeah, we can phase that out now. I wasn't even gonna mention on the stream because last stream we were talking about making money with 3D printing. I'm like, the toy that we should not name. I said we're gonna take a shot for every time we mention fidget spinners.
Yeah, I think, guys, I'm getting pretty tired. So
yeah, I think we ran off our audience. So
yeah,
I'm gonna get off too.
Yeah, thank you for joining, and hopefully see you back soon. And
cool.
Great.
Yeah, man. Is it every 2 weeks or every week?
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks, yeah.
Every 2 weeks, I might be able to make it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do this frequently.
Yeah.
No, I do it like I've been doing it more because of work. But anyway, thank you, Martin.
Yeah,
I'm getting
thank
off.
you guys, and see you.
See ya. Bye.